You guys are on the internet talking about stuff.
I deserve good things. I am entitled to my share of happiness. I refuse to beat myself up. I am an attractive person. I am fun to be with.
Hey, look, I'm happy for the gig, but who wrote this?
I did.
Okay.
So, okay.
Good.
Shout.
Take one, and we're rolling.
1, 2, 3, 4.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. 1 second, please.
Valid empathy and violence, nuance empathy, systemic trauma, systemic violence empathy.
Not empathy, cause harm.
Valid.
Bottle of water?
Valid.
Super racist.
Empathy.
Can something be super valid?
Nuance.
I wish I was technically savvy. I would make a Dehlin bot.
Patrick Mason, who's right now considered one of the top apologist scholars and the person who New York Times returns to when
he does his Mormon apologetics independently of the church.
you say jump, we say ha.
ATST.
Jump, Patrick Mason, jump. Hey, it's your chance to go on John Dehlin and grovel and cry and whine about how bad you are. Thanks, Patrick
Yeah,
Mason.
a version of this only for empathy.
You did a good job.
Oh my gosh!
Ooh, remember empathy? I remember.
Hey, Patrick Mason, John Dehlin thinks you're causing harm. Trans kids are killing themselves because of you, Patrick Mason.
Ooh, remember the Trevor Project?
Oh my god.
Basically, the whole show has to be me now. Anyway, you guys keep on rocking on the way that you do and be excellent to each other.
Thanks. Party on.
Thanks, Keanu.
When it messes with your children. And I think some of the most traumatic things I've ever seen have been when it messes with your relationship with your mom and dad. That, to me, that's where it gets really real. And Kara, what's more sacred than your relationship with your mom and dad, right?
But you're exactly right, John. And I thank you for saying that those relationships are key. But I don't want the point to get missed that leaving the church can poison everything you do. I can't tell you, and John, you'll say the number of dentists and doctors who've told me, over a beer that they don't believe anything, but they can't leave the church because they'll lose their practice.
Oh yeah, all the time.
What's up?
And
Not much.
it's that acknowledgement that it's there. But
He likes talking about what people tell him over beers, huh?
It's been straight boob time for an hour now on that, which kind of bummed me out because the first little bit of it, I thought it really was like a self-reflective thing, but no, it's just we're victims. That's why we're hateful.
It's your fault that I'm so fucking insufferable.
And he gave a couple stories that I'm just like, yeah, right, dude.
I caught the last couple minutes.
He was talking about some kid got shot in the back 15 times by police officers, and a year later or whatever, they tried the Brown family tried to have a party and remembrance the kid, and all the cops came with billy clubs and beat up the whole family, and all the Mormons were standing there watching it with their signs of I hate homosexuals are going to hell, and I realize they're all the same. And like, whatever on earth you just described is not reality, dude. I do not know what it is you think you're referring to. He goes, you can even look this stuff up. I'm like, look it up. Like, what are you talking about, man?
Yeah, what the hell? I've never heard of anything resembling that. I engulfed myself in this Mormon shit for I swear to God, for 3 years. I probably read every single post on the Ex-Mormons subreddit. I had it set up to not even just do hot, do new, and I would refresh it like I was obsessive. It was too much. But I feel like I would have heard about this crazy thing where there was a massacre.
There was a massacre. A brown kid was shot in the back 15 times for no reason. Oh, he said there was a robbery, and then cops went and billy clubbed it up while Mormons held their signs, "Go away, homosexuals."
You know, at what point in the last 100 years have Mormons advocated violence? Like, honestly, I think Mormons would. That one of my problems is I bet they would wait too long to be violent. Like if they started coming to your house and taking people away to re-education camps or some shit like that, and you fired back, I bet the first Mormon reaction would be like, "Oh, we believe in being subject to kings, magistrates."
Yeah, so half of this is them saying that you can't trust being friends at all with any Mormons. Like, really, they just miss the mark so much with me every single time. I said to you earlier, right? Like I was giving them some kudos. I was saying, "Hey, this is starting out okay." They even like called into question how necessary or how good therapists and life coaches can be, and that you have to really vet them. These guys who are usually such credentialists and whatnot, they usually just say, "Go to whatever therapist or something." And I thought they had a really nuanced take on that, a real nuance.
Nuance.
But the first 20 minutes, I thought it was all pretty much let's see, here's the first 20 minutes. You could probably do the impersonations of it, but
I know what's gonna happen.
Wait, I guess I should let you try first.
I mean, so during the first 20 minutes, I don't know, but it's
the first 20 minutes when they're trying to be on good behavior. Try to do that one.
Oh, I have.
They try, but they can't. They try, but they can't.
They try, but they can't. I guess they're not used to trying that. Maybe they have listened to some of the pushback and they're like clumsily trying to be not.
I think they for sure have heard some pushback at this point.
No, I'm sure they have. I just don't know how, I don't know how John Dehlin would rein in John Larsen, because I feel like the pushback would just Larsen double down and.
No, I'd say John Larsen came in trying to be on good behavior. So what's John Larsen trying to be on good behavior?
Really? That's crazy to me.
He tried to give some credence to that it's true that we get overly angry, seem overly angry, and it's hurtful to Mormons.
Okay, so but he's gonna. This is still going on, and he's going to negate that at the end by being like, "And I'm asked all the time, why are you angry? Why are you angry? Why am I angry? No, yes. Why aren't you angry?" And I know we're not supposed to cuss on this program, John, but I'm sorry, but like I just left a fucking cult. Why are you not angry? They're harming people. Children are killing themselves over this fucking cult. Fuck.
Yep, but John will be like, that's not at the end. That was
about that. And then Carol will be like, "No, keep going, dude. Like, you have my blessing."
Yeah, she started crying. You got it right. That's not at the end. That's by a half hour in, and I think it's 2 hours. So, and there's probably another hour to go. So, hour and a half of that, not just the end. But the first half hour before they got that thing of giving caution to psychologists and all that stuff. Oh, it sounds like somebody's here. Let's see who's here. Device is not connected. Somebody tried. What on earth? Look who it is.
It's Keanu. You're muted.
We can't hear you, Keanu. Can I go there? Can I undo it?
Dude,
we got Keanu Reeves.
Dave, you guys are on the internet talking about stuff.
What would you have us do, Keanu?
Have you already started recording?
Yeah, we're recording already.
You're gonna have to edit this out.
I don't think anybody ever edits any takes of you out, Keanu.
No, basically the whole show has to be me now. So,
excellent.
So
I just found some new technology that allowed me to warp into anything live.
I'm in the Matrix.
I've been looking for my dog. Have you seen him?
No.
Pretty cute. If I was to claim him as my own, then you would have to get him over to me. Or else I'd really upon you and your kin.
It would be morally justified.
This is like, it really is like Neo's getting through the internet here. He can be anywhere.
Just wait till I figure out how to train other until I learn how to inhabit other agents. totally gonna do that. Anyway, you guys keep on rocking on the way that you do, and be excellent to each other.
Thanks. Party
Keanu.
on.
Thanks, Keanu.
That's funny. That's lucky
you
we
knew he
were
was gonna do
recording
that?
already. What? No, I had no idea.
He had the mannerisms and everything.
Yeah, I was tripping out. I was really actually kind of thinking like, man, he's really got it down. Keanu Reeves, man. Do you think
That'll give us a boost. Man, we're gonna be so famous now.
we got A-list actors on, and
John Larsen certainly isn't being excellent to Mormons.
Nope, I don't think he has to be either, or anything like that. But oh man, I should have taken that off the screen and had it gone down to the bigger screen when I did that. But maybe it looks better in the smaller thumbnail anyway. I don't know what it looked like in the large view. Let's see. Wait a minute, we can hear live. Let's hear live. What do you think's going on right now? Whoa, what's that face say?
Oh my god, I don't know. His hair's not combed back right now. What's going on? Got
Is
the
it not
Chris
that?
Farley do.
We're gonna go live.
It could actually
All right.
be said.
Oh fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All I have to say to that is
The first word was it can actually be fatal.
Yeah. I don't know what he was saying.
Wow.
But we
I'd
took
say,
it
wow, that was
exactly.
crazy. That was almost as wild as getting Keanu on it, except that they probably said that 15 times in the episode.
you only get, let's say 90 years on life. At best.
Yeah.
And you're going to do a lot of things to serve your family to get love and to serve your community to get love. And it's a heartbreaking story that we've come in contact with for so long. But there are so many people who they can't step into their own authenticity. That they know could be there, but they just have too many. I had that. Too many.
That was the word. The Lotus Eaters had a whole episode today on the word valid.
Oh my god, don't even. Oh.
Has that, because it's slightly popped up to me and I've slightly noticed there's always new words.
Okay.
And the new words are kind of familiar words, but valid I've kind of noticed. But once they pointed out, that was one that was kind of floating under radar to me. Were you already noticing it?
Oh my god, I've been noticing that for years, and it's because like I get this weird thing with words. That like if somebody uses words that I don't think they came up with on their own in any capacity, it bothers me. Like it bugged me when I was a Mormon and people like I hated the word truthfulness. Like that's one of my least favorite words because they always used it and it's stupid. And we have a word, veracity. We've got that's a good word, and we truthfulness. That's two suffixes. That's stupid. And that's
one of those words that you probably learn better after a Latin language, though. Did you learn veracity better after?
I did. I didn't know the word until I learned Portuguese, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
A lot of Latin words you learn in English after learning a Latin language.
But there was a lot of it. It was beyond a shadow of a doubt. Every fiber of my being, all that shit felt cheesy to me. But valid, that one I ran into a lot because my wife knows a lot of the life coaching people, and they use that word so constantly. They use it and like they say validate as in like I need you to validate my feelings, and I don't understand that because wait, you need me to say that your feelings are real? Is that what you mean by valid? Because you feel real things. I don't know what you mean, but what I think what they really want, this is my running theory on it, is that in their head, valid means true, means reality based. It's sort of meshes like, yeah, your feelings are real to yeah, your feelings are correct.
Yeah. It half tries to be objective and half goes past objective to not as your feelings are just valid or what you perceive of yourself is valid, but hint, and that means it's true or something like that. I forget how the Lotus Eaters framed it today. They had a whole episode on it, but
I'm gonna watch the shit out of that.
Hold up. Well, it's 20 minutes. That's what Jonathan's been wanting you to do some facial impersonations a la Kyle Dunnigan. Those would be pretty good. Like a dark Peterson. I don't know how Kyle Dunnigan does them where he like alters them. Speaking of which, look, that's who's live right now. It's Kyle Dunnigan. I just saw him right there.
Yeah, he just switches back and forth between them. It's pretty impressive.
I won't stay on this, but this is live right now. It looks like he's doing Jack Nicholson.
Hell,
Maybe.
You can see it in their eyes.
Yeah.
That was horrifying.
Yeah, that one's not quite looking right, but Jonathan's Keanu looked exactly
The
right.
Keanu looked really good. I was impressed with that. They look like the Kyle Dunnigan ones always look creepy, but it kind of lends to the bit that he's doing.
How does he alter him though? Like how?
I don't know.
We want to do dark Jordan Peterson, so it's not so you have to be like in what's the dark Brandon coloring, but of Peterson's face or something like
I'll
that.
have to get like an armchair, like the one that fancy leather armchair, and surround myself with books. Up yours, woke moralists. We'll see who cancels who. That's been my go-to insult at work lately.
That is a good one.
Well, it kind of just confuses most people.
Oh yeah, they don't know the
It's a little bit niche.
I'm stuck in the world of thinking everybody knows that reference now. That's my bad.
No.
Almost nobody does. Man, we talked about it. I did that circle with Marty that she invited everybody on the lobsters for about Jordan Peterson, and the perceptions of what the other people had of Jordan Peterson really blew my mind, except it didn't. I already knew people thought like that. Let's see what they say here.
But instead by most people of our generation, that being the millennials and the Zoomers, constantly telling each other that they are valid.
Is this part of the don't judge me man mentality?
Yes, it is. It absolutely is, because it really annoys me, because this sentence, this word, when it's trotted out, you are valid, is to me, one, a sign of pure neuroticism that you get from a lot of people.
You know, I know what this is. I know what this comes from. This is, so we've completely lost the ability to say, fuck you, man. Like that, we don't have that anymore. And that's why, everybody has to be valid, is because, like, if somebody tells you that, like if somebody were to tell you, Chris, you're living with your girlfriend, you're not married, that's messed up, that's, sin, that blah 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 blah, and doesn't validate your lifestyle, then the proper reaction is fuck you, man. To move on. We don't say that to each other anymore. So we're like, but are you saying my relationship is valid? I think your relationship's valid, but who cares? Fuck him.
I think maybe it's kind of like the opposite of the you're saying I don't exist. The opposite of you're supposed to say I am valid, like, because you can't say you exist, or do they say that? They probably say that, but valid's probably the
valid.
You're heckin' valid. It's so funny because I'm so tuned in, woke to wokeness, that I usually know and pay attention and really catch all the words. And if you're as tuned into it as I am, there's still always a new one. And some of them, there's still always one that kind of like low level floated around you the whole time. You're like, oh yeah, that has been there the whole time. And even that one I didn't hard pay attention to.
The first ones, my God, I hate that one.
And then there's some new ones. The new one that's going to come out is that the definition of a woman is your subconscious is woman. That's going to be the new framing of that. But
it uses the word woman.
Yeah. And those guys at the start of the thing, I should have counted it up, but they dropped valid at least 20 times in the first 20 minutes of the Larsen, Dehlin, Wire, Ex-Mormons. So mad.
Hey, maybe that's because that's the other place I heard it the most is in Ex-Mormondom, and you've been kind of out of that world for a while.
Well, obviously it's gotten over to Britain here. These guys are
no, sure, you're right. It's in the life coach places. It's really big in the trans community, and it is enormous in the ex-Mormon community because it's anything you feel, anything and everything you feel as an ex-Mormon is just so valid. And I'm like, okay, yeah, don't, like, if you're angry about some shit, process that. I don't know. I feel like telling everybody that, yeah, that's totally valid to like hate your mom for praying for you, like, because I've met people who get angry at shit like that, like, don't put my name on the temple rolls. I was like, okay, but process your anger. You feel an anger, you got to get through it, and then realize that the worst thing that's happening right now is that somebody is wishing you well.
Yeah, and that seems to be like a lot of what they're claiming in that episode. That I don't know, maybe they have shitty family members or something like that, but they all say that their family members can't fully engage them and will tell them that they'll do stuff like not babysit their children because they won't be a part of their sinning or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, so John Dehlin's got all these emails. So I honestly, in the cases that I heard him talking about, I don't doubt that he's heard those cases before. Like of, but that's not the norm. It's not the norm for a parent to cut their ex-Mormon child out of their life. And if they were to go ask their ecclesiastical leaders if they should do that, they would tell them no.
And there's every extreme out there, but I'm more than positive that I can talk to every level of super Orthodox believing Mormon and get them cool with me. It's that you're probably sitting there insisting that they accept you, like you probably put them through a Meldrum interview. Like, I want you to announce to us that you're a religious racist. Say it. And then they say, well, I can't be around you anymore if you're going to just be constantly doing this. And then they report back to the rest of the ex-Mormon world. They got away from us because they said we were demonic. Say, but yeah, you leave out the portion. I have a bandmate of mine. He's such a ADHD guy. Yeah, I love the heck out of him. But he's like just constantly kind of tweaking and messing and poking at everybody. And he says he was 10 times worse when he was a teenager. And so he always has these stories like, I was at work, man. I was just sitting there at work, and this guy came up to me and just pantsed me in front of everyone. And I was just standing there, and I was like, whoa, I can't believe he just pantsed me. And, I was all embarrassed, and they fired that guy on the spot, and he left. And he gets done with the whole story, and I'm like, dude, that story started way past halfway. I know you, What did you do to that dude 700 times first? How many titty twisters did you give that guy? Like, how many times did, and there's something about self-reporting of all these stories, which, not to get crazy into it, but I was just listening to stuff. Like I said, like I found out that there's just a little more, and it doesn't validate it. But like the Emmit Till story, I found out that there's a little bit more than the lifetime description that I've heard of that the kid just kind of said hi to a lady, which is basically how I've heard it, And the claim on the other side is he definitely attempted sexual assault on her. And the lady came out and wrote about it years later and described the whole situation. And does not validate that.
And he asked me, did I have 2 boys that are from Chicago? I told him I have. And he said, I want the boy that done all that talk.
Yeah, look, okay, so you want to know what he said? Here's the first-hand account that the woman who's still alive, who was accosted by Emmit Till, now, didn't deserve to die, but this is what he did that day. This is what he did. So to be clear, he didn't do, he did do, and here's what he did do. In her own words, here is the woman who is now 88, and here's how she said it went down. The door opened, and a young black man who appeared to be, didn't capitalize black, racism, who appeared to me to be in his late teens or early 20s, entered the stow. Now, it turns out he was 14, but he was a big boy, and he was quite large. And sometimes it's easy to think someone's older than they are. And we know that that is biologically normal for people to not be able to age members of a different race. Yeah, man, that's racism. Oh, shut up. I found out later that this young man's name was Emmit Till. I was behind the counter, ready to wait on him, and Juanita was in the back room with all 4 boys. The young man went directly to the candy counter. Once there, I asked him if I could help him. He asked me for some candy, gum, or some type of sweets. We had a jar of candy and cookies on the top of the counter. I opened the case door to get the items he pointed out, the items he wanted to buy. I mentally totaled the amount he owed. He reached for the small bag of candy from the top of the counter. When I held out my hand for the money, he put no money into my hand. But instead, he caught my hand and told me in a clear voice, "Don't be afraid of me. I've been with white girls before." Whether he stuttered or stammered, I don't recall. I was afraid. So, does anyone think it's appropriate for this guy to walk in, grab a woman's hand, he doesn't pay for the candy, "Don't be afraid, I've been with white girls before"? Like, what? Dude, so not cool. His grip was strong as he held my hand from across the counter. Complete astonishment, then fear filled my mind. He asked me, "How about a date, baby?" My mind raced. I thought he was going to molest me or worse. I was afraid for myself and my babies. My babies were in the back room. He then grinned at me as I jerked my hand free from his and dashed towards the main counter to get Roy's pistol. Oh man. When I reached the open space between the counters, the young man Emmit was there. he had slipped through and caught me with both of his hands on my hips. He was saying to me, "What's the matter, baby? Can't you take it?" I became even more frightened as he was much larger and taller than I. Oh my God, what is going to happen? What is he going to do to me? Were the thoughts that raced through my mind. I continued to struggle to get free from his grasp. As I was struggling, he said, "You needn't be afraid of me. I've fucked white women before." I've fucked white women before? Okay. I was about to explode with fear as the seconds flew by. Never before nor since have I been that afraid. I screamed for help, but no one responded. I was afraid and alone. I was shaking all over because nothing like that has ever happened before. I'd always felt safe in the stove. But now I was afraid. I jerked and twisted as hard as I could, and I could feel the strong grip loosen from around my hips. Once free, I saw another young man pulling Emmit away from me. The young man was telling Emmit, come on, we got to get out of here." All right, and scene. So, does that read to you as implausible or unlikely to be completely true? I mean, this is an account that this woman has stood by her entire life, and it's not even that eventful. It's like she got accosted and harassed. This is part of American history now, that Emmett Till did nothing wrong, and it's just more evidence of white racism to blacks or white violence to blacks.
Visiting from Chicago. He wants to know where all the girls are at.
Yeah. Don't y'all have any pretty ladies down here? Yeah, I heard something about a plantation party this weekend. Oh, yeah? Yeah.
It's real antsy. There's a pretty lady working register.
How pretty we talking?
Go and see for yourself, Chicago. Go and tell us to make them that pretty up north.
He's fooling with you, Bobo. He's talking about a white lady.
I'm going to school with white girls. I'm not afraid to look at one. Go on ahead. Ask for a date while you at it. I dare you.
All right, let's see how close to the truth this depiction is.
Just watch your tongue, Bo. All right. Any of y'all got a cigarette?
Thank you, ma'am.
No smile back. Was that based on a true story? I'm not sure. Right, I think she went over to try to help the guy, but apparently she's evil and nasty and has evil intent.
Come on, Bobo. Let's go. So, Chicago, what's the story, man? You taking out or what? I ain't think so. I knew we weren't gonna do it. Goodbye, Bobo.
I wonder why she's so mad. I mean, all he did was smile and buy some candy, right? And then said goodbye. That's all that happened, right?
Boy, you crazy?
Yeah. Didn't do nothing. Right.
Hey, she's got a gun.
She got a gun. Come on.
Okay, so here's another real piece of shit production called The Killing of Emmett Till. Came out in 2020. Look at their take on this scene.
Show them what you showed me.
These are my friends from Chicago.
They all white.
You ain't gonna make white friends down here.
Who's that white girl?
Who? Her?
Yeah.
Well, that's my girlfriend.
I didn't know Emmett Till was Forrest Gump.
Oh, Bobo, you fool. You ain't been with no white girl. You lying. You so crazy.
If you've been with a white girl, go inside and show us how you do it.
Come on, Bo. Best put that wallet away.
I knew you ain't had no white girl.
So apparently these filmmakers were comfortable enough knowing that he went in there trying to hit on a white woman. And like that was what he was about. Let's see how it all went down.
That boy's gonna get himself killed.
I don't feel nothing. That's just a beer belly.
Okay, so already it's a lie. I mean, she was alone in the store. as her eyewitness testimony told you.
That all?
How about it?
Don't you touch me, boy!
Oh my god. Okay, so how about her going on a date with me sometime? Right. That's what happened. Really. And then she pretends like he was touching her. Don't you touch me, boy. Like he didn't touch her. Didn't touch her. Right. Didn't grab her by the hips multiple times. Hey, I've fucked white women before. It's all right. Want to go on a date, baby? Grabs her hand, grabs her hips. She has to pry herself off this dude.
How about it?
Don't you touch me, boy!
Then that boy chased Carol into the back of the stall, grabbing on her
And that's it, guys. That's enough to get you killed. That's how fucked up white people are.
waist, saying she knows how to treat a white woman. Well, my wife was so scared knowing she didn't have a gun underneath the counter, she ran out of the car
Oh, but they did do the wolf whistle. He got killed just for whistling at a girl.
to get her a gun. You know what that little nip boy gunman did? Brother, he goddamn whistled at him.
Yeah. So these are the lies. This is the distortion. I mean, it's despicable. Like I actually get sickened by this. Every part of my being tells me that this is all bullshit.
Emmit Till.
He is. That woman, okay. Look at her, just racist right now. So you've heard her account, the actual woman. Let's see what this movie does with it. Because remember, guys, it's based on a true story.
We'd be one happy kid. I don't know why I said that.
They didn't show it. They literally cut out anything he did. Like there's no reason, no rhyme, no reason for any of this.
I mean, you don't get to, because I mean, we don't even believe in death penalty full on. Well, some people believe in death penalty full on for a full rape, but in this country,
I bet that's how you could get lefties on board with death penalty. Honestly,
Yeah.
like because they're so. I don't know. I've had some of them claim to me before, like in person, that rape is worse than murder.
yeah.
In certain arguments, I'm like, okay, but like I got a gun to your head right now. Would you rather be raped or murdered? Like, okay, well, fuck you.
I've heard people argue that they'd rather take the murder because then I'd have to live with a lifetime of that pain. I've heard that argument. But but what I was saying about that is that Tillman thing is like you get halfway through the story and you started at halfway and you painted all a pretty picture in one description, and there's always a little bit more to the story. And it doesn't justify like the reactions, the big reactions, all that stuff, but stuff's never quite so simple. But what I was going to say about that is we were talking in the last episode about George Floyd and how race never got brought into it. Well, the thing is like that situation inside of this country, those claims have happened and those claims have turned into crimes of passion after those claims, and race never had anything to do with it. You know, that doesn't go, of course, you don't justify somebody attempting to sexually assault somebody that you get to just kill them because we don't even know if what the lady's claim was true or her perception was true. It's the same thing as Blasey Ford, all that stuff. That's why we have due process, you know, and that's why they were supposed to do due process. But the claim was much stronger than is ever painted in general knowledge. And what I was just saying about that is like, take away that it's a 13-year-old black kid. If it were Cletus down the street who did that, nobody would bat an eye that it got to the levels of, I mean, they'd say you can't just go kill somebody randomly like that, but nobody would bat an eye that a crime of passion came out of that.
He's a 13-year-old and he was trying to sexually assault.
Well, yeah. Not only that, he claimed that he'd been with women before, and then if you watch like the different movies, they even admit in the movies that he'd been with other girls before. And was kind of a somewhat of a sexual kid. That doesn't mean that you know for sure he was an assaulter, but the just like happened in those situations where the kid got shot in the park and they said he had a gun. We shot a little kid with a toy gun, and then it turned out he was like a 14-year-old kid who was 6'4". That's true of Emmit Till too. Like the lady thought he was in her. The lady in her description said that she thought he was in his 20s. And
I don't know much about. I just know that, you know, supposedly she accused him of rape for something very
No, the bigger story, the mainstream story,
And then they
is-
murdered him. I know they.
The mainstream story
absolutely-
that they try to say is that he basically just flirted with her. I said, "Hey, baby." And they'll if you look at any sort of mainstream thing or just pick it up from somebody, it was kind of like he winked and said hi or nodded at her. That's the claim that they try to give. And then the other end of the story is that it was like a full-on lynching in the sense of like the sheriff went and just lynched him, you know. Whereas no, it was her husband who went and killed a guy who tried to. It's far closer to a crime of passion, and it just so happened that, you know, and the whole thing's gotten described as this big lynching 1960s, you know, extrajudicial hate crime. And that's one way or the other is there's nothing in there to make you go, I don't know about that for sure if it was that one thing or the other thing, but you get one story out there. And a lot of those things you get one story. That's so much of CRT, critical race theory, is, oh, you don't know the real actual history. And then so many times you get the real actual history and you go, well, okay, now let's even go deeper and get the real actual history and hear both sides of that story. And it always gets more complicated. Every single time it gets more complicated.
I love that CRT pretends that it wants to, like, that's obviously the Bailey of CRT is we just want real history. Like, it's actually the opposite of what you. It's funny to me that it's set up in a way that the Bailey is actually completely the opposite of the Mon.
yeah. It's I don't know. Well, let's see what I think they pulled up here that they know where they think it comes from.
What does it mean? Why do they say it? Because this is another aspect that I wanted to harp on, which was the manipulation of language. As we covered, and you might as well just go to the last link I've got in here so I can say it now. As we covered in our book club of Michael Knowles' Speechless.
This is fantastic, by the way.
Yes, which was honestly quite a surprise for me because I wasn't familiar with Michael Knowles' work before. But Speechless was an excellent book looking at how it is that political actors and activists can use words to control reality, use words to control how you think about things. Because if you have a word for something, you have a concept for it, that concept will have intrinsic value of both a moral factor, and you need to recognize how you can manipulate language to manipulate people's minds to think about things in a particular way. And the left, sadly, have always been amazing at this.
Yeah, they've abluted our lexicon of our ability to make judgments. That has made us incredibly nihilistic, and from that nihilism, they want to layer a reality-denying socialism on top of it. They believe that by resetting us linguistically to year zero, they can bring about the socialist utopia. We cannot fall for their tricks. Instead, we should unapologetically assert that, yes, our ideals are right, and, well, he makes a case for, should we say, pacifist right-wing repressive tolerance, which is very compelling. So,
Yeah, I don't like that. But whenever Knowles and Walsh get to that level, that's where I get turned off to them. But
yeah, as far as the Daily Wire guys go, I like Shapiro and I like Jeremy Boring. I like Matt Walsh and like the trans stuff, like the What Is a Woman stuff is awesome, but I definitely am wary of him because I remember like my aunt would post his blog back when it was just a blog years and years ago. And so I was familiar with Matt Walsh back then, and I remember hating him. I don't remember why. I know he was like more hardline on like gay marriage and stuff like that. I didn't like that, but
he was hardline on women should stay in the home cooking type stuff was what his old blog was. Knowles, and it's the same thing that we talked about in other stuff, that the criticizing is easy. And right now when those guys are underdogs, like I've lived in the world where Mormons and the type really were the overdogs, if that makes sense. Like I've been alive long enough for that. You know, it really was overly in the 80s, into the 90s. I'm sure before the 80s, even worse. It was the high order thing. It was the kind of overly oppressive Mormon thing. And then we're just in the yin yang shooting too far the other direction. And then of course, if it shot back the other direction, you'd have to curb it in again. And when I hear Walsh and Knowles always talk about it, they're the two Catholics in that one. And they're the ones who always kind of start, if you listen to most of the dissident right people, the same guy who said, here lies the conservative right, who says, hey, look at this. Imagine if it was on the other side, which I said in the other episode, the point of that tombstone is saying we shouldn't be bitching about it. We should be doing it.
Oh.
But as soon as they start doing it, if they ever get back around to doing it, I would be just as irritated with them as I am with these lefties doing it. But I think Walsh and Knowles and all those dissident right guys, which seems to be like they're kind of congealing around a weird Catholicism, strangely enough. They all kind of start talking about, we're not libertarians because we need to be conservative. And when we're conservative, we actually turn back the government and start using it back on them in that sort of way. And some of these guys on Sargon's channel,
it was a Charlie Kirk thing we were talking about the other day.
He was saying throw the groomers in jail and stuff like that.
He wasn't just saying like the groomers. He was, and I don't know, maybe I'll listen.
Did he say beyond the groomers?
He said specifically the drag queen story hour people. He said we need to arrest them and throw them in jail. I was like, I don't know about that. Because I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm for throwing people in jail if they really did do some sort of sexual assault in some sort of way to a kid. And in my view, that could also be just an overly visually lewd thing. But I mean, you'd have to review the situation to a kid. I don't think that, like, general flashing and all that stuff, I'd probably call like a misdemeanor if it was like just like adults. But if it's to kids, to me, that's a felony. I don't know. In my brain, I don't know if it's full on real deal pornographic level, sexual visual stuff. That's my view of it. But I don't know. But if it's just the grooming, like the general, what do you call them? The drag queens reading to them and all that sorts of stuff. Like to me, even if it was like Dame Edna or something doing it, I'd have no problem with it at all. When it gets to the level of they start doing like dances and stuff like that, now you got me going like, okay, get that guy or gal the crap out of there.
Yeah, but, that's the thing is we actually, Pocatello is a town like, I don't know, 50 miles away from me. And they recently made Libs of TikTok by having a back to school drag event at a local coffee shop, which it actually got canceled because of the Libs of TikTok pushback. It was funny because my initial thought was, all right, I guess like it was like an all ages friendly drag event. And I was like, specifically marketed to kids. And I was like, okay, my immediate reaction is, I guess like, it's a private business. They can do what they want. I imagine it's not going to be lewd or anything like that. So go for it. But I guess the alarm bell is the half of it that's like, why is this a thing all of a sudden? Like, I know that they've been doing it before, but like within the past couple months, it's just ramped up to like we need to do drag kids all the time.
It's like they triple down on
kids. They're like, okay, like that wasn't very much on my radar. Like, sure, the Desmond is amazing stuff, dancing on the stage. That's fucked up. Get the fuck out of here with that. Or don't ever have one at a nightclub. Don't have an event for kids at a nightclub. Maybe that's a good rule of thumb, especially one that says it's not gonna lick itself on the stage.
Yeah, I remember the one in Provo was coming up, and I even saw an ex-Mormon and Mormon Enlightenment people saying they formed a wall against the protesters of it. And I don't know the protesters there. I'm sure I know how John Larsen would describe them, but
gun-wielding Christian nationalist.
Yeah, but at least two of them had super lewd names. One was
anal leakage,
and one was genitalia. And you go like, this is for kids. Like that already there is that's not, that shouldn't be for kids. Like I for real, like when I was a little kid, I watched Dame Edna in the 80s. Like my parents weren't afraid of us watching Dame Edna. Nobody had any. We all knew who RuPaul was back in the day and all that sorts of stuff. I would not have a problem with RuPaul or Dame Edna as they were in the 80s reading to kids. But as soon as they start dancing and calling themselves genitalia and anal leakage, I have a problem with it. And then if the dancing gets to a level where it's like full on stripping, flashing type stuff, I'd say you are pushing into the criminal area there.
Yeah, well, it gets a little bit seedy when you're like, okay, at our next family-friendly event, we're going to have butt cum here. Read child books to your kids, and then you're like, hang on a second, can we not do that? Why, you fucking phobe? You don't want to have? What do you have against drag queens? Like, I just don't want people that maybe nickname themselves butt cum to be hanging out with my kids.
Yeah. But the word family friendly, that phrase family friendly, that's one of the new speak words. They took that word family friendly and gave it a spin, which means family as in new modern family of the extended larger community family type thing. I'll have to post it up here because they actually describe out that they're actually playing one of these same word games with the phrase family friendly. But here they just kind of go into the word valid, obviously. Well, I mean, I think that's pretty much what we guessed. But let me see here. James Lindsay on his only subs. I don't know if you're allowed to show only subs on something that's outside of because this is something you're supposed to pay for to be on. But he had this larger article on 3 terms communists redefined to subvert society. And he focused on inclusion, which inclusion means including people with the right ideology, democracy, and
Everybody puts equity in here.
yeah, it means there's no such thing as democracy until everybody's already equal. If they're not completely equal, it's not such thing as democracy. And that even goes back to Lenin. This is a phrase by Lenin here on it. In capitalist society, we have a democracy that is curtailed, wretched, false, a democracy only for the rich, for the minority, the dictatorship of the proletariat. The period of transition to communism will for the first time create democracy for the people, for the majority, along with the necessary suppression of the exploiters, of the minority. Communism alone is capable of providing really complete democracy, and more complete it is, the sooner it will become unnecessary and wither away of its own accord. Historicism. I don't think the way the Democrats use it today isn't exactly that, but it means its own thing too. It does not actually mean like democracy. It means our point of view.
Oh yeah, of course.
And citizenship.
They were all about like not subverting a democracy on January 6th, but then like they totally wanted to dismantle our system when they were banging on the door of the Supreme Court because Kavanaugh.
Yeah. Citizenship has it's the exact same twist as democracy. That you're not really actually a citizen unless you're 100% equal to everybody. And some of that equality that you don't have is like if you're a mother, you're already automatically a secondhand citizen. But
I actually had speaking of those words, I had the liberal dude come up to me at work today. First thing in the morning, he's like, "So, you read Atlas Shrugged, right?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Do you believe in Ayn Rand's theory?" And I was like, "What theory?" Because I don't agree with a decent chunk of what she says. And it was kind of like vague. And then he's like, "Well, I don't know. It just doesn't sound very equitable." I was like, "Okay."
Oh,
We don't have time to get into the word equity right now. Do you want to talk about equity? Because
you said this is a conservative guy?
No, he's a liberal dude.
Oh, okay.
He was wanting to, I don't know, trash on Ayn Rand to me. CHUDS of TikTok.
Yeah, turnabout is fair play. They have their own little group now, and I follow them. Following to
Signs of a dishonest person loves to debate.
Yeah, but they're real bad at it. I mean, there definitely are, especially over TikTok and stuff. There's stuff that people say that are super stupid, and I think they could load it up with a bunch of right wingers saying really stupid things. But they also like put in Dave Rubin. The big one that happened today is like they put Matt Walsh in there because they thought Matt Walsh was saying it was unscientific to have a black person as a mermaid, because from a scientific perspective, it doesn't make a lot of sense to have someone with darker skin who lives deep in the ocean. And Walsh came out and made fun of it today, because if you listen to the thing, he's obviously making a joke. His joke is that you'd have translucent skin if you lived that far into the sea. You wouldn't be white or black. And then he says, "I'm speaking out for the translucent people. And I mean, I am now a trans rights activist, translucent rights activist, because they got overlooked in this situation."
I think the thing that these chuds of TikTok guys don't understand, the thing that made libs of TikTok take off, is because they find things that a lot of lefties will say, but most of the mainstream lefties won't, and they'll post them. These guys seem to just be trying to like jump on the coattails of like the big conservative names, because if if we're all for Christian nationalism or whatever, if we're all QAnon freaks, then well, Matt Walsh isn't going to be saying that out loud. So you got to go to the freaky guys.
Well, I mean, I guess they probably get more attention that way and all, but
Oh yeah, I understand why. It's just not going to work too well.
so this is a one of the ones that people put out for Matt Walsh was saying about translucent's rights. So we talked a little bit about this with some other people, but did it upset you? A black mermaid.
So, okay, here's my thing with the Little Mermaid. The thing is, we've already had the dumbest possible race swap.
Which
and
one?
that is
Wait. Can't be The Witcher or like it can't be that stuff. I mean, because there's so many obvious Nordic ones. So you're not thinking of that. Did it happen with Snow White, or it happened with the Anne Boleyn? Anne Boleyn.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
I got it.
Because it's a real fucking person
Yeah.
who was white.
Yeah, that's so
They
stupid.
get like the darkest skinned woman to play her. That's one of the dumbest ones, because we used to make jokes about, you'll see the memes that it's like Ryan Gosling and Martin Luther King Jr., like.
Well, there was and they actually got pretty pissed off because they were just going to put what's his name as Fidel Castro,
James Franco.
James Franco, but he's
did they back out of
technically
that?
they backed out. But Franco's technically Spanish, and Fidel Castro was technically half Spanish too, so he's actually probably closer to.
I'm surprised they didn't
Fidel
back
than-
out because he's been Me Too'd into oblivion.
Yeah,
I was
I
surprised
haven't seen
they
him in a
cast
lot of stuff. He's been gone for a while. I haven't seen him in cast. In anything.
I guess we're done with Me Too now.
Maybe. I don't know if guys like him will ever come back because all his
We'll get
friends turned
Weinstein
on him.
producing shit again.
Yeah. All his friends turned on him. They're like, I don't know how he ever breaks back in, but maybe he will.
Okay, but in regards to this, does it bother me? I mean, kind of, because it feels it's just obvious dumb pandering. It's stupid to take an already established character. At least it's a mermaid, because I've also heard that there's some series they're doing like a mini series on Beauty and the Beast, and Belle is going to be black, and I'm like, okay, a French peasant from like what, the 16th century or some shit like that. I don't remember what century it is, but that's stupid. At least the mermaid isn't like I mean, she's off the coast of Denmark, but I guess like you're not gonna underwater look exactly like the people you're
It's
around.
Hans Christian Andersen. It's a famous Danish, they could definitely have a claim on it, like, hey, that's ours, man.
Yeah, no, it's stupid. Like I don't care that much. I mostly care that I'm so goddamn tired of these Disney remakes. Like they need to just stop.
One of the funnier things I heard is Alex Stein said tonight. It says, it really upsets me that they call her a black mermaid. Why not Black Mer CEO? She should be she should be a MerGirlBoss.
I don't see a maid, I see a doctor.
Doctor. Why has it got to be mermaid? A black mer scientist. Yeah, I don't really care, except that that they're purposely trying to irk people for irking's sake. But
I wonder what the Chinese release is gonna look like.
oh yeah, or they probably just don't even do it, is my guess. I don't know. I saw some people online, they got AI to correct it and make them white again. But I don't know. I wonder what the movie's going to be like. I saw somebody said they should cast Elliot Page as the prince. They probably will. They're probably like, dang it, didn't happen in time. Yeah, I don't care. I don't give a crap. Whatever. You guys can tank yourselves how you want to tank yourselves. And they say, well, why don't you write black? We were going over this, but why don't you write for like black women anyway? And there's all sorts of already out there, women of color in
I'd be
stories.
like, so I think it's dumb because I think it's annoying.
Yeah.
It's irritating and it's stupid woke business practices to like shoehorn a new race in there. I would also be annoyed if they did a live action Princess and the Frog and made Tiana white. Like
I'd
be like, no, she's black. Her character's black. Come on.
Or if they did the Pocahontas, it wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah, they made Pocahontas white or whatever. Like it's
Although I
it's
guess
like it's like watching John Wayne play Genghis Khan, and you're like, that's funny. I don't think it's racist. I don't think it's insulting. It's just stupid. It takes you out of the world that you're in because he's Genghis Khan. Hello, partner. I'm Genghis Khan.
I want to watch that. I've never seen that one.
Neither have I. I need to watch it.
I wonder if it's anywhere out there because I watched a bunch of old westerns during COVID, and here's the truth about a lot of them. It's like there's iconic scenes in all of them, but the truth of it is they're pretty bad. Like they're pretty poorly done. Most of them, like they're real slow and then have weird scenes. And I'm one of those guys who's like I do not have like attention to detail visually. So like you sometimes you're hanging out with people and they're the type who can catch any sort of flaw in a movie where something's misplaced from scene to scene type stuff. And in a bunch of John Wayne movies, I caught like 50 of them. And I'm like, I'm not somebody who catches that stuff, you know. Like, but I caught them all over the place in those ones. But then I always have like these iconic moments that are iconic now for reasons. But like the whole entire thing in their entirety, they're all kind of. Ugh. I bet you that one's a stinker. John Wayne was the baddie in Trumbo, and I only got halfway through Trumbo and I had to turn it off. I couldn't deal with the propaganda anymore.
Would you like one, sir? We're communists.
He's a writer.
You won't get any takers, not here anyway.
Oh, why is that? All it says is that Congress has no right to investigate how we vote or where we pray, what we think, say, or how we make movies. Hello, I'm Dalton Trumbo.
Congress has the right to go after anything they think is a threat.
Well, that's where we disagree. And that's the point. We both have the right to be wrong.
You want to talk about rights? First tell me whose side you're on. Russia's no friend, not anymore. You better wake up, because it's a new day. A new day.
I've been meaning to try to rewatch it, but it was just such a ridiculous thing. They're shipping immigrants off to Martha's Vineyard. Here's Michael Malice saying, "I'm not surprised Joe Biden is against Ron DeSantis' busing program. Kamala Harris tried to warn us during the debates." And memes for that. That situation's so weird. I can't believe that's kind of happening, really. I can't believe that's
exactly like with Abbott shipping all of the illegal immigrants to sanctuary towns.
I can't.
We will be a sanctuary for people who will never come here.
I can't believe they're daring to do it. Yeah, I can't believe they're daring to do it. It just kind of blows my mind here.
Ballsy. That's a good one.
Let's see. Get off my lawn. AOC saying, "Get off my lawn." Okay. Well,
they should be thankful. This is the multicultural utopia that they've longed for.
Yeah, you got it. Here it is.
Sending all these doctors and lawyers and scientists to them.
Let's see. Let's check back in. But I honestly didn't think it was going to be a sob fest. I honestly thought it was going to be self-reflective.
How stupid of you.
I'm dumb. I keep getting duped right back into it.
Talking to anybody in the church. I wish that if you want to keep your testimony intact, you not listen to me. I don't want to cause you any more pain than we have to. But the pain is real. But let's pause for a moment to talk about hope.
Did we really just land right here?
I don't mean to steal the Trevor
Not
Project.
live right now, but I want to see him cry.
The Trevor Project.
Get better.
Have you followed the Trevor Project stuff?
No, I haven't.
And the catharsis of saying "fuck you" over and over again to the church. The catharsis of drinking your first Miller Lite.
What?
People still.
The catharsis?
The catharsis.
That's not the word, right? Isn't it catharsis?
It's catharsis, yeah. But I mean,
catharsis is Yeah, it's just funny. It's just
Catharsis. But he's crying.
catharsisotic.
He's crying about the hope for Miller Lite. Yeah.
Of becoming your own person and finding friends and finding your people is genuine and real. And when you're in the pain, you can't see it. You can't get out.
I can't believe this turned into a boob fest for ex-Mormons. Like
it's
I
all
honestly thought
fake. The everything that makes you want to hurt yourself or hurt others, it's none of it's real. And that's why I'm still here. Sorry.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you, John.
Such a letdown.
What are we?
Very heartfelt. And
I'm
I'll
saving lives. Is that like
I'll
I'm
just
crying
say
because I'm
that
saving lives?
one of the
I guess
most
so.
profound discoveries of 2022 was to learn that over half of our audience on Mormon Stories has never been Mormon, because the pain isn't just ex-Mormonism. It's ex-evangelical Christian. It's ex-Jew.
Do you only talk to people who are in pain? You don't think the ex-Mormons
it's
are just
ex-Muslim,
watching?
It's
Wait, the non-Mormons are watching because it's just watching a train wreck. That's not right. I mean, that's not 'cause they're-
No. Well, no, they're watching because Mormonism is fascinating.
Yeah,
Like,
they're not here for the sob stories.
No,
Other
I know.
than
No,
that, it's like
nobody's like. I don't think most people are there watching your shit because they're in pain and they're looking for like an outlet. No, I wanted to learn all of the shit about it, and the more you learn, the more interesting it is. Mormon history is fast. I learned this like a couple years ago. I finally came to terms with the fact that it's not just that I left Mormonism that I'm interested in Mormon history. It's just that it's objectively intriguing, and people around me understand that too. They'll like, oh, I listened to this podcast and had a really crazy story about Joseph Smith in his seer stone or whatever it was, and they're completely non-Mormon at all, but they find it very interesting. That last podcast on the left, that when they covered Mormonism, they did it 5-parter, and they had never done that before. Like it's just interesting. That's why people listen to you and that listened to you.
Yeah.
Sorry, can I rant for a second?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Because I'm gonna say there is a section of people who watch ex-Mormon content, and yeah, sometimes it's a freak show, and let's point fun at like temple clothes or like quirky things or just crazy things that Mormonism does. I'm a TikToker, and I know how to come up with a list of 10,000 things that are quirky about Mormonism off the top of my head for references. But that's not what it's actually about. Like it is so easy just to say it's just people who are making fun of us, and it's a freak show, and it's people who are just want to like complain for the sake of.
Did I hear somebody? It's flipped there. It is. Hi. I almost didn't hear you. Have you been there for a while?
No, I was there for 15 seconds.
Okay, we're
balls deep in a sob fest at Mormon Stories.
Yeah, we didn't even know what they were talking
today's
about.
Show?
Yeah, we're just listening to it. It's not live anymore, but at moments we were listening live just to see what the heck. We tuned in right when John Dehlin said, what did he say?
It could be fatal. I don't even know what he was referring to, but that was the first thing we heard from him.
And then Larsen was just crying and saying there's
he was sobbing,
because of the
straight
Trevor
testimony meeting, sobbing, talking about why he does what he does to save lives.
I had hope for the episode because it was like they really did start out like they were being self-reflective, and now it's been since about right here, it's been just a boob fest of poor us, the ex-Mormons again. But
complaining. Or you could grow up and you could actually hold space and empathy as an adult would. That they can see there are so many varying types of people and backgrounds.
Did she say you can hold
it's
space?
like unanimous type of this.
Oh, that's a phrase. We started talking
like
earlier about the word valid. Have you heard the word valid thrown around?
Yeah, did they Orwellianize that too?
The hold space is definitely one of their phrases.
Hold space in empathy.
Hold space. It's kind of like having a safe space, but you hold space.
Hold space and empathy. Grow up, hold space, and have empathy. Like that's religious language.
It's it's all religious. It's heckin' valid though.
No, she's talking about like why can't people just feel the spirit and serve God? That's
yeah.
I think these three just really, really loved being Mormon.
Yeah. It's been one of my points. Is that they kind of just continue on the thing. They do the thing
of undoing themselves from false
They were
ideas
the Mormons that really took pleasure in feeling like they were superior. That they had access to something special.
And there's even something about the Mormon rituals. Flip and I have talked about this since the start, but Larsen and Lynn only work because they have a feeling like it feels like that's your bishop and your stake president. Like that's part of why they take hold, because if they didn't have the demeanor of seeming like your bishop or your stake president, they wouldn't take hold with Mormons very well.
Hey, I want to acknowledge Trudy brought up a good point. Alcohol is not the answer to anything. Alcohol is the worst drug there is out there. It's dangerous.
An endorsement for shrooms.
Be careful.
Incoming.
He was just crying on us a second ago that having your first Miller Lite is a.
He was sobbing about having a Miller Lite, which is pretty awesome.
There's hope you might have your first Miller Lite. Okay.
But then, okay, this is what we're getting next.
Then somebody brought out
Kara's gonna
that,
endorse-
but alcohol has a downside. Now they have to explain to us, like we're children, that alcohol has a downside and can be.
It does
abused.
all feel like it's all like we're children, and you
You
still
always got to
need.
do these preambles, like
Doesn't have
to
no-
acknowledge the pain caused to indigenous peoples by alcohol.
It's like, I mean, everything's doing it. It's like NPR runs these stories about like how to make friends. It's like, what? Like, you're NPR. You're publicly funded news. You're supposed to be the most boring place. Like, do you remember, like, maybe, I don't know if Jared remembers, like, if you got up early enough on a Sunday morning and turned on PBS, and it'd be like four guys, like, it would be like the deputy water district manager, and they spend an hour talking about something that, you know, like, yeah, now NPR is seriously stuff like, you know, how to make friends, and, you know, like are you struggling to find work-life balance? Like, it's like fucking women's magazine shit.
Yeah,
I feel like,
you know,
that's what this is doing.
There's people who, I used to say that there were, you know, the ex-Mormons were kind of safe because they didn't start drinking until they were in their 30s and they wouldn't suffer from alcoholism. Oh boy, was I wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So,
the worst way to do drinking.
Yeah.
Came
That's
out
one of the
in
great
the-
ironies of Utah. It's like, because I mean, they trip over themselves because they're concerned about kids and drinking. You know, if you ever look into how the Utah state liquor laws are run, and what research exists shows that the number one thing you can do as a parent to prevent your children from developing substance abuse disorders as adults is to drink with your children. And like teach them what it means to drink moderately, why you don't drink too much, you know, all this stuff. Like, yeah, like it's like the Italian model where it's like it's normalized that, you know, even as a child, like on holidays, you have a glass of wine with the family, and you have.
I've dated two different Latinas who were never Mormon as Latinas, and they both had alcohol in their lives their whole entire lives, and they both have never been drunk because you know, and
exactly.
They think it's weird or bad if you go all the way to drunk. And like, what kind of weirdo goes all the way drunk? Because they just been raised around it. And,
I think it's dumb to drink if you're not going to get drunk.
I do too, but that's because we were raised Mormon.
It must be.
What's the point? You know,
bled out.
Flip likes the taste of it though, right? You don't like to get drunk anymore. Or...
I've started buying non-alcoholic beer. I'm just like,
what the hell?
Like this, I'm basically sipping on this corn whiskey, but
Flip real deal really likes the taste of it. Like it's the taste.
Yeah, no. There was one day that like in the morning I was flossing my teeth and like I nicked something and started bleeding, and I didn't have any mouthwash, and literally all I had was some single malt scotch. So I just used it like mouthwash. I swished and spit, you know, and worked it because it's an antiseptic, you know, and I didn't think too much about it. I'm not worried about it. I care that much.
Yes,
drink like that.
For me, for both taste reasons and for caloric reasons, like I do not want it going in my mouth unless we got a purpose of we're getting loaded or something like that.
Yeah, you're the guy. You're the kind of shopper that wants ethanol delivery.
Yeah, exactly. And it's one of the reasons I don't drink that often. I mean, I'd still probably say it's under 50 times in my life.
No, the other day I got invited because I move in these circles, and a fancy restaurant manager invited me to her fancy restaurant to sample a bunch of fancy liquor. And like, it was a Saturday night. I wasn't even going anywhere that night. I was just going to go home afterward, but I still asked for a spit cup, and you know, and I spit, you know, what's ordinarily like a $70 bottle of mezcal. I just tasted, swished, and spit because I'm like, I'm not here for the alcohol. I just want to taste this stuff.
Wow.
It bleeds out. F word.
This is random picking still. We don't.
Yeah.
I go to begin the first 20 minutes. the first 20 minutes they were trying to be somewhat self-reflexive, although I don't think I ever got the chance to do it, but I can basically recreate it for you. They were trying, but even through trying, they can't help but drop their typical lines of stuff that sounded a lot like this. They sounded valid empathy and violence, nuance empathy, systemic trauma, systemic violence empathy.
Not empathy, cause harm.
Valid.
Bottle of water?
Valid.
Super racist.
Empathy.
And something be super valid.
Nuance.
I wish I was technically savvy. I would make a Dehlin bot.
You might be interested to hear it, to clip it out. I don't know if I'd find the exact moment, but he did try to give an explanation, which I think this is one of the things that he's hearing the criticism come back to him. Who knows if it's from us or bleeding through us or other people who feel the same. But he did get into, I know that I started that old podcast more from an academic angle, and I did it more from a distance view of trying to examine this stuff. And over time, I had to give it up and back away from that, because I just started getting all these stories of pain. There's all these stories of pain and pain and pain and pain and different stories. And
shut up.
Maybe you know the story. I mentioned it. And call me out if I'm regurgitating this like Tim Allen and Tim the Toolman Taylor, but I think I'm not. He said some boy was robbing a store in Utah, a brown boy, he said, and then he got shot in the back 15 times by the cops. And then a year later, all the cops showed up when they were trying to have a memorial service for him and started clubbing all the family. And then while all the family was clubbing, there was Mormons there with their signs saying, "We hate homosexuality." And and I noticed they're all the same. Does that ring a bell to you? Like, you've been in Utah with me, right?
Who said this?
This is John Larsen gave this story. I'm pretty, and this is one of the things like why he got the crap out of Utah, and he realized that you can't separate the Mormons from the.
When was this supposed to have happened?
Gosh, this is the problem. I can't do the transcript.
If this is a story set 100 years or more ago.
No, this is around the time he left Mormon Expression.
He said a boy robbed a grocery store.
A brown boy got robbed from a grocery store, got shot in the back 15 times by cops, and then
I think I know what they're talking about. Shot in the back 15 times by cops. I think.
And then a year later, his family was holding some sort of memorial, and all the cops showed up and whomped.
Oh, I think he might be conflating his story. But if it's what I'm thinking about, he is by extension lying, because there was I think a Hispanic guy that down in the Central 9th District got shot in the back because
I know that story.
He committed an armed robbery. He wouldn't drop the gun, and
that one's recent too. That's like 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
Couple years, yeah. But then it's around the same, because it was in 2020, because there was a kid who got shot. There was a kid who got shot for which there was no body camera footage, and there was controversy. And during, in the Summer of Love, they organized a peaceful protest, and it was a total Selma thing where they're trying to goad a police reaction. And it's funny, and like this is where I called out my pastor friend pretty harshly.
I think
called him a liar.
What it is, because I didn't understand why he was suddenly saying. And I saw, because I'm sitting there thinking that they threw like a memorial party for the kid, a funeral, and the cops showed up and whomped them. And then he says, and there was all the Mormons standing there with their signs. I'm like, why are Mormons standing there with their signs at a funeral?
The only thing that he could possibly talk about, I'm thinking of, and this is the thing that's, again, there's video, and there was video immediately. And I called everyone that was posting about this out. Yeah. They were in the street. The police came and said, "Could you please get out of the street?" They said, "No, there's no room on the sidewalk." And there's camera footage, no,
the Cottonwood Heights
all the room in the world. Cottonwood Heights one, yeah. The police just said, the police didn't say don't protest, don't assemble. They didn't say anything like that. They said this is a residential street.
There was no protesting Mormons.
Street. Well,
if it's that one, there was no
police shooting.
They were protesting the police shooting. There was no counter protest.
No, and the whole thing was totally set up. Like, it was absolutely to try to goad. I mean, that's things like they forced.
It was after George Floyd. They were trying to make a George
Floyd, and then
Floyd
lied about what the police said and lied about the facts on the ground. And it's one of those things where it's like, it's not even a plausible lie. It's not even a plausible lie. You could have just gone to the sidewalk and if you were being honest, if you were being sincere, if it really was just about exercising your freedom of speech and about the situation, then God bless you. You could have done it legally, you know, like lawful protest is a thing in America. They deliberately broke the rules to try to go to action. There was like a city councilwoman claimed that a policeman assaulted her, choked her. Again,
Yeah.
there's a
You got in
million
some
cops
fights with
there, so
people
there's a
about
million
that one.
cameras.
I remember
it's
you
one of
getting
those
in some fights with people.
Oh yeah, no,
about
because
people
again,
lying about it.
people were making specific claims about events that we already had video footage of, and this wasn't like ambiguity stuff. It's like, no, you're making this shit up, and obviously John Larsen just swallowed it all. Jesus, that's sad.
If that's what he's referring to, but I mean, there's ways that they can.
I don't know what else he could.
It's got to be
possibly
that. It's
talking
got to be
about.
that. Yeah. Yeah,
It's
he's
just such raging
misrepresenting
bullshit.
entirely. We've already been through that in the time, but I didn't know exactly
Yeah.
what he was talking about when he was framing it right there.
You know, and
But-
then, just everything about it, because this was after the riot where the car got turned upside down and and lit on fire, and
Which was
crossbow
after
guys
George
showed up.
Floyd.
Yeah. So after all this, and then this basically the same group of people show up in Cottonwood Heights. The police obviously they're doing their job, and they show up. And it's like, I don't even blame them for being even a little extra on edge, because we know.
Yeah, he's got to be
Black Lives
talking
Matter is
about
capable of.
this situation.
Yes.
He said clubbed them in the backs or something like that. But these guys
Yeah,
were
yeah.
walking all over the streets
I doubt
protesting.
it was.
These were guys actively resisting arrest at this
They
point.
were trying to,
Well,
They were asked to move to the sidewalk. They
Tensions boiling
refused.
over.
They lied about there not being room on the sidewalk. Then they began to actively resist arrest. They got
and
those
charged
pictures.
on the police. and
Boom.
stuff.
I mean,
John
yeah,
Larson
but
is lying
Dude,
10,000
they're
times.
charging up on the police.
Yeah.
But this is what we get.
This has to be what he's referring to.
Well,
And
no, because that would mean that he's misrepresenting what actually happened.
Yeah.
But the thing
even
is,
this where
like,
it says,
we watched that.
protest.
That thing
Or,
was live streamed. We didn't just watch it from these little internet clips. We were able to watch the long live streams of it. And
I hate this head. There's this banner though, after peaceful protest escalates. No, that's the point. It wasn't peaceful. The protesters could have made it peaceful and kept it peaceful. It was entirely up to them.
it was peaceful protests, just like all the other peaceful protests were. After they'd been blocking off neighborhood streets and people couldn't get to their houses.
For a young
Cut in
man,
the CNN reporter saying peaceful protest.
an officer 2 years ago,
Molotov
police say
cocktails
Rob
arcing in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they blocked off this neighborhood so people couldn't get to it. They didn't do any
No,
permit to do this.
it really was as simple as the police came and said, please move to the sidewalk. And they said, basically, F you, copper. And the cop said, please, can you please move the sidewalk? And there's even this thing on video of a guy saying, there's no room on the sidewalk. And you see the cop sweep his hand. And this is
I
from the
remember
angle of
that.
another
I remember
police
that.
is
Yeah.
standing on the opposite sidewalk. And you can see, there's nothing but room on the sidewalk. This is Cottonwood Heights, big, broad, beautiful sidewalks. You guys could have done your thing lawfully, but obviously it wasn't the point. We know that the point was to goad them into a reaction for pictures of cops swinging an arm.
For those videos,
you freeze
they
those
wanted
images, and then those get blasted all over, and
and John jumps right in with it. And
Yeah,
then
and
he was talking about he has
for
hope
some
because
reason
of
that's
things
a
like
topic on an Ex-Mormon. Somehow that ties into Ex-Mormonism.
he has hope because of things like the Trevor Project, and the Trevor Project has suicide hotlines and that stuff like that. But the Trevor Project is very, very famous for putting out p-hacked scientific studies on trans kids and stuff like that.
Anything social studies, I just when somebody says, "Oh, new study says," if it's not one of the harder things, I just don't even. It's nothing to me anymore. And even before the woke shit blew up, before I even knew that was going on, I was already super skeptical because even Skeptics Guide had pointed out the thing that's it's more than 10 years old now, that they pointed out that none of the social studies studies are reproducible. They were shit even before we knew that they were ideologically
regression to the mean. And there was a term for it. There was a term for the crisis. They called it the humanities crisis or something like that.
Yeah. But it turns out it was only a crisis to people who thought that the humanities were still about science. But the people actually running the humanities, there's literally no crisis at all.
There's a lot of stuff that could hurt people's. You don't realize that you've even held on to stuff like that you've heard your whole life that you think is true, because you can look at things like the marshmallow study, right? The marshmallow study.
Oh yeah.
You think it predicts a certain thing, But actually, what it predicts is like how much those kids trust their parents, like, in a way.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that study about the authoritarianism of kids. That's a study that I'd even like to keep too. But it was a shit study. That thing about where kids, they took half the kids and they made half the kids be authoritarians and half the kids do the other stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And then after what's that one called?
Stanford experiment.
The Stanford experiment. But if you look into it, if you follow like real X's and O's in the science, it had some shit problems with it as far as coercion and pushing kids towards making decisions and that sort of deal. And they might not have actually taken those decisions if they weren't pushed towards what the people.
There wasn't a real experimental control group in that experiment. You know, all the groups are experimental. And this goes beyond that thing, you know, just the general way that people understand science, like the thing you know a million things about, where everybody believes that they saw a study reported that says Diet Coke makes you fat.
Yeah.
You know? But it's like, no, what the studies show is that fat people drink a lot of Diet Coke.
I saw
and Chris Hanna. It's like there's fat people and Chris Hanna, and that's all the Diet Coke in the world.
I noticed a lot of stuff in my life. I noticed myself as a kid that it's so weird to think back when I was a kid that my parents watched the news regularly enough that I caught the evening news every night. You know, my parents were always watching the 10 o'clock news, so I always caught the 10 o'clock news. That's so weird. That's such a different life.
That classic Norm Macdonald bit about how the news used to be. Like, the news used to be 30 minutes. And it turns out that was about right. That's all the news.
Yeah. And there'd always be like this little bit at the end where there's like 2 minutes of weird things or positive things or something like that.
Yeah, the local fluff human interest story.
I remember across my lifetime, I saw the inverse study on if eggs make you fat or if eggs don't make you fat 1,000 times. I saw a news study say eggs make you fat. News study says eggs don't make you fat. News study says eggs make you fat. News study says eggs don't make you fat. I think on those same programs, I saw the same thing with vitamin A causes cancer. Vitamin A is good for you.
Margarine is bad for you.
Yeah, that happened.
That's another one that
butter makes fat. But back on those news programs, like you caught them often enough that you were able to see that on the same news program, they'd give you the exact opposite study every couple months. Let's see what other crap they pop up here. And then I want to pop to their one with a Patrick Mason.
Love you. I'll never forget in the 90s, real quick. In the 90s, there's a guy that used to be on AM radio called Dr. Dean Adele. He's kind of wonderful because he was sort of the original super media skeptic before that was even a thing. And he was like a former doctor and surgeon who had a radio show for decades, and he answered questions. And he was all about science. And like, he was the first voice I ever heard on the TV or media explain why supplements were crap and there's no sense in taking vitamins for almost any reason, you know? And I just remember it cracked me up so much because he spent 10-minute segment going over how, and you know, they do this every year where they analyze the top 5 supplements from the top 5 supplement manufacturers, and they don't have what they're claiming, and like most of them seriously overrepresent what they're actually are in them. They often have unreported adjuncts. It's like all this stuff about like this is all crap. And they said, all right, we got to go to break. And the first commercial was a supplement. You know, it's like, wow. And like, because you know, they have to know, like the supplement manufacturers have to know that they're advertising on the show, but you know, it doesn't matter. That message is so powerful. Like, because I remember thinking that, like, how can people still believe this? Like, this is 25 years later that I was listening to this show on the radio, and like here we're still here, and most people I know, and most of them are college graduates, I still see them hyperdosing vitamin C when the cold starts going around. It's like, guys, it's witch magic. Like, it doesn't work. It doesn't do anything.
Year after year after year after year. And what normally happens is families just, my cohort left the church 15, 20 years ago. And so as I talk to them, you know, it's amazing how many of their families are just falling apart. The division between these people always choosing the church and these people being invited, the ex-Mormons being invited sometimes, but not always. And then often I was blamed, you know, like, well, because I had my mother-in-law say this to me.
This doesn't happen in my family at all, Larsen. And I know a lot of different families that doesn't happen at all.
But the other thing is, he's like, oh, look at the 20 years of, look at the people that I left the church around the same time as me. And some of them are falling apart. Okay, let's look at the ones that are still in the church. Are some of them falling apart?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a level of it that I mean, I think that probably even was truer back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s if people even left as much as they did. But people are getting so used to knowing a kid or knowing somebody or having a family member who fell apart that, to me, it just seems, especially in the Salt Lake area, Mormons are very used to being around people who've fallen away from the church now. It's not weird.
Yeah. And not talking to somebody, or, you know, I mean, since I was a kid, like, you know, my aunt's brother was never Mormon, you know, but sometimes he was around, but a lot of times he wasn't because of the Mormon thing. But I don't know. It's just.
So he talked about like he used to be at the University of Utah, and then he got like the name on his head because they found out he was this podcaster, and then he was on the out group of the Mormons there. But then he like also described that, well, somebody was playing their hymns at their desk, and I went and told them that they couldn't listen to their hymns at their desk anymore. I listened back, and he said that they were bringing up those hymns in one-on-one meetings. That did seem to be a problem to me. I had misinterpreted, thinking that he was just complaining about a lady listening at her desk. My bad. And because it's illegal or something like that. And I was like, come on, man. Like, if people listening to hymns as their background music, you went and complained about that, and then they were seeking you out. Like,
Okay,
people
Karen.
listen. Like, if
Karen
you,
mindset
any
gets
atheist
black
out
people
there,
killed.
if there's a religious person listening to hymns or their own religious music on their own at their desk, leave them alone.
Yeah.
Coming from your friendly HR director guy, maybe you could complain about it if you're like sitting next to him at the same level you'd complain if it was country music and it's just annoying you or something like
I was gonna say, unless it's Christian rock, because that stuff is dog shit.
that. Yeah.
It's really bad.
Example, just because it's funny. My mom called me once a few years ago, and I said, "Hey, I just got off the phone with German public radio."
What's funny?
Okay.
And then there was a big
even John doesn't get it.
Like, where are you going with this, buddy?
pause like that, and then she just changed the subject. She wasn't curious as to why German public radio was calling me, or what we talked about, or what I said to them.
She knows what.
Oh yeah, she didn't want to talk to you about.
She knows what they were talking about.
I don't know.
Yeah,
how
like,
this-
why-
I don't know how this can bother you that much. Why didn't my mom care about my podcast where I tore down her closely held beliefs? Like, keep going ahead and tearing down the beliefs. I'm not saying not to. I shit on weird beliefs all the time, but like, I'm not gonna go to the people who hold those beliefs and be like, "How come you aren't applauding me?"
I just had to like imagine the same version of the story, except it's like a porn star thing. So I called my dad and I said, I just got an award.
Dad, I got Bukkake.
Dixon
Why
an
didn't you
hour.
watch?
And there was a pause.
I don't get why, even with like general things, because like my parents aren't sports fans, and like I played football in high school, right? And they came to some of the games. They didn't come to all the games. Did I get butthurt about that? No, I know that they just didn't get it. Like, it wasn't their thing. Like, it did not bother me at all. In fact, I'd kind of more be like, don't come to this one. You know, I didn't care. I've been playing in bands forever. My parents have seen me play like twice, and that's 2 times too many. I don't know. I mean, it's fine if they come and watch or whatever, but I don't care. You know, I don't need that. I don't need people to tell me I'm valid. Back to that word. I don't need that. What do they call it? Exterior supply of exterior locus of supply. Like, I don't need outside people to tell me I'm valid. The whole entire movement of you is you need external validation, and you guys need external validation for your conclusions on Mormonism too.
This recently, like in the last few weeks, my brother took my dad to see one of the performances of the samba band I play in sometimes. And a few days later, I was talking to him, and my dad said, I didn't know you played guitar.
That's so funny because I know he did too. I mean, you've talked about it so million times.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, like
And
I
I've
was
been
always
there
playing
when
the
he was
guitar.
Did you take that as an opportunity to be a victim and say, my dad hates me?
I thought he was going to say, I didn't know you were in a band, which would be sensible because he might not have known you were in a band.
Yeah, no, because like I didn't advertise that I was.
I
playing
didn't
with
know
these
you
guys.
played guitar.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was so funny.
She never asked. As far as I know, I one time there was one episode I was kind of proud of with Mormon Expression, where it was one where I was trying to express more empathy for the church, and I made her listen to it.
What?
And as far as I know, it's the only thing I've ever produced that she's listened to. My mother, who I love dearly. But when I called her after, I said, "Did you listen to it?" She said, "Yeah." And I said, "What'd you think?" She said, "Yeah."
Gold star, Johnny boy. I put it on the fridge, Johnny boy. It's up on the fridge. Are you happy, Johnny boy?
Yeah, there was a lot of words.
I want to meet John Larsen's mom. I can get her on this podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, his mom sounds
I mean, that'd
based
be
as
funny.
fuck.
But you're like, John, I have all the empathy in the world of trying to talk to somebody who just won't fucking listen.
Yeah, but at some point, I mean, it's actually one of the things that maybe Dehlin would tell him as a therapist, but it's like there's some sort of level of it. It's on you to stop going to the hardware store and asking for milk. It's on you to figure that out, you know.
You guys are laughing. This man is burying his soul.
Oh,
his
sorry.
very Mormon mom did not
We're
listen
butchering
to
comedy.
his very ex-Mormon
She
podcast.
did give him a gold star.
And he's crying.
Wait a
Have
minute,
some
like-
empathy.
So, because it just reminds me of that, because like my little sister barely talks to me because of we clash about woke shit basically.
Yeah.
And like out of the blue, this was a couple years ago. She sent me a link. She's like, I think you should listen to this. I thought it was really good. And it was this like 8-part, hour-long episodes podcast from the New York Times about how some people go on YouTube and then they end up becoming alt-right Nazis. And so I immediately started listening to it, and I listened to all 8 hours over the next 24 hours, and I sent her my thoughts as I listened to it. I texted her thoughts as I listened to it. She never replied to any of it. And then I sent her a 2-minute and 34-second clip. And I said, I listened to all 8 hours of that bullshit. And to prove to you I listened to it, I told you why I thought it was bullshit the entire time. Now will you listen to this? You said no.
I had this happen in high school. I was kind of dating this girl. We were into each other. She was Jehovah's Witness. I was Mormon. We were trying to convert each other because we were really into each other. And we were, cheesy, 15-year-olds talking about how we got to get married one day or whatever, but we couldn't get married outside of our religion. So we're going back and forth trying to convert each other. And she wouldn't read any of the things I sent her. And all she would ever try to do is disprove Mormonism. And like I told her one time, I was like, what do you think, like, that if you do disprove Mormonism to me, I'm just going to immediately jump up and be like, I guess the Jehovah's Witnesses are right. And anyway, we had this back and forth that reminds me of what you just said. She's like, okay, we're having this special Jehovah's Witness conference. It's really big. I was wondering if you come to it. I was like, yeah, I think it's interesting. Other religions. It was going to be like 9 hours long on a Saturday. And I was like, that's okay.
I know
I'll
what
do
you're
it.
talking about. Yeah.
Oh,
I forget
yeah.
what they call it. I forget what they call them, but I don't know
what it's called, but she wanted to do that. And I was like, oh yeah, no, that'd be fine. I was like, and maybe you can come to church with me. It's 3 hours long. It's a third of the time. I didn't say that, but I thought,
it's probably closer too.
Of course, of course, I'll get her to say yes because I'm asking her to do a third of what she's asking me to do, and she's like, "Oh no, I wouldn't do that." Okay, will you listen to one general conference talk? She's like, "No," and by this point, I was just trying to see like how far down I could get her, and I was like, "Will you read a single verse from the Book of Mormon if I go to this 9 fucking hour convention with you?" And she said no. I was like, oh my God, it's like a different type of human.
That's exactly what we go through, and we're far from the only ones. We know so many people who are telling the same story about being blocked out of all the Mormon Stories world and being totally shut down for trying to share anything that runs and they won't have it in the same way that we're talking about these people. They simply won't have it.
Yep. We don't even exist, and I don't even. You don't need to.
We are
agree
literally
with me
being erased.
You don't need to agree with me or give me a gold star or anything. Just hear what we're saying because you called for it. You asked for it multiple times. You keep duping us, thinking that you're actually asking for something. But I had it. My parents heard that I was on Quick Show, and they asked me. They said somebody said that you were on this guy's show, and they didn't. They were really impressed with you, and they're from our stake and our ward, and they didn't know that you knew all this stuff. And I said, yeah, that's interesting. And he's going like, you don't want to know what show or like look it up. Is there anything like that, or even?
Yeah.
Oh, we'll look it up. Yeah. You got some random person telling you, but I don't. There's the part of me is like, good, don't look it up. I don't want you to look it up.
Yeah.
So.
And so you get cut off. And what's unfortunate is because that passive cutoff, they didn't engage that with my kids, but kids smart. They see what's going on. And so that passive shunning
Is
that
this
happened
what you
to
think
me,
being cut off is? Like,
in part destroyed the
do
family.
you think that being cut
That
off
destroyed the family.
It destroyed your mom wouldn't listen to the podcast that again shat on her beliefs that she like. Oh, my mom
That you
isn't
insisted she
supportive.
listened to. She didn't need to listen to that podcast. She did not need to listen to the podcast. You know?
Yeah, no, and also like, because I mean, so just imagine your mom listens to random Mormon Stories episodes. What's she gonna hear about Mormons?
And
Like,
from what I
you
know,
want-
like I said, in the first half of this one, they were trying to be on good behavior and they couldn't help but slip all of their ideology into trying to be on good behavior. And then they still went on an hour and a half long victim parade thing. I'm sure that his whatever the thing he had to listen to, he's almost not even aware of how much he laid in there about, like, it wasn't as, conciliatory as he's claiming it is.
There's got to be worse. There's got to be more relevant and like worse things he can complain about, right? Like things that I could empathize with more. Like this can't be it. My mom didn't listen to my podcast because I was making fun of her beliefs.
We're getting down to the nitty gritty of why do ex-Mormons appear so angry?
That's because you're mad. Because you're mad at your mom because she doesn't want to engage in your anti-Mormon work. My mom doesn't like to talk to me about my atheism.
Oh well.
So I don't ask her. She talks to me about church, and you know what my mom does when she starts talking about the ward? I ask questions. I say, "Oh, how is old brother so and so?" Because frankly, I miss the part of Mormonism where my neighborhood was my family. That was nice.
Yeah.
It's a good touch,
My parents talk to me about that too, and sometimes they even talk about it, even forgetting that I'm not in it
Says
anymore.
like sometimes like the way that a lot of the Mormon Stories ex-Mormon crowd talks about, where they're like, every mention of Mormonism is a trigger. Like, I'm so far past that. Like for me, it's almost kind of warm. Like it's almost a little treat when I'm compelled to go to a sacrament meeting because I'm like, oh, all right, well, I get to hear the organ and we'll sing the dumb songs again. And it's just a little nostalgic trip, and that's fine.
But they'll say this, everybody else here has bad triggers and pain and trauma with all this stuff with their families. But one of the best episodes of 30 Rock is when Liz Lemon goes back to high school and she remembers getting bullied by all these kids. And then slowly, through her memory and through people talking to her, she starts to realize that she was the bully all along. And there's so many of these different situations and things that I guarantee that, like, they were the ones that John was the one here who crapped on his mom's beliefs in moments where she wasn't expecting it or wanting it or needing to hear it, and just kind of went on his merry way and thought nothing of it. And then when he describes the story, he conveniently leaves out the half of it where he pissed all over her stuff.
Yeah, no, I just kind of wonder, like, if his mom brings up news about the ward, does John say, well, the church isn't true, Mom?
Yes, he went and complained at work because some lady was listening to hymns at his desk, and then he was persecuted for it.
He was John Larsen. That was a personal story.
Yeah,
he complained about someone else.
No, he said somebody else came and talked to him about it, and then he dared to go bring it up to the HR guy, and then the HR guy got the lady to stop listening to her hymns at her desk.
Once again, disclaimer, I got that wrong. You said that the lady was bringing it up in one-on-one meetings as a manager with an employee. Just to correct that.
Okay, here's
and then his head was on the thing from there. Sorry, Jared.
So this is, I'm not trying to shit on your profession or anything, but at work, my immediate reaction is imagine being such a pussy that you would go to HR. Like that's my first reaction anytime. So like, we have one black guy at work. We used to, and he got sent to HR one time for calling someone a cracker.
Oh, wow.
I was like, and it was like in a jest, and you're like, holy shit! Imagine being that much of a pussy.
So I am HR, and I'm a guy who takes like a bunch of those types of complaints and stuff like that. And the way he described it is not so easy. You can get into the concept of saying, hey, the vocals, like the sound level and stuff, and the company has a certain policy, and maybe the policy says something about that. But he's also talking about religious music and somebody having their own religious music, and if she had permission to her own religious music, there's actually a level on the other side of it that maybe you are trampling on her rights still, as the rights are laid out in the United States right now. Still, even though everything you guys try to do, as we talked about ourselves, that there's a slogan that tries to trample on everyone that's currently existing rights right now. But as of right now, they are still the rights. Her religion is a protected class. Her religion is a protected class. We have that term, protected class. There's 5 things in the Civil Rights Act of '64. There's sex, color. I think they do color and race together in the same thing, but religion is one of them, and age. And it didn't. Later stuff came from like later things, but the original 5 were just those simple things right there. And religion's one of them. That's more protected that's as protected as being a black person at work.
And the woke hate it because it protects everybody equally.
Yeah, that's sort of an individualistic protection.
Yeah. And I don't have that kind of relationship with my parents. They don't know hardly anything about just the surface level stuff. Now, I compare that to my wife's family, Kimmy's family, who are all in the church, and they don't practice shunning, and they know all about me. We talk, and they're interested, and I'm interested in them, and we have on that sense, we have a much better relationship. In the end, and I understand the choice, but they chose the church over.
Why are his hands up right here? Guess.
I don't know. Empathy.
You did this to yourself.
Oh, that's projection. Iron law of woke projection.
You chose.
Why did you make me do this?
In blood, and you chose to treat them like dirt or secondhand citizens, or as if they're shameful.
Church.
Well, hey, because so maybe
what would it be like to be treated like dirt by John Larsen?
I couldn't imagine, but I ain't his family at all. So, but
well, actually, you've been asked to stay away from his family.
He's shunning you.
He practiced shunning.
Yeah, no, we got shun practiced on us by Mormon Stories.
But so this one, what drives me kind of crazy about this is like lately there was the interview with Steve from Mormon Book Reviews, and then the interview with Mormon Tangents, and then this guy comes on, and it's supposed to be one of them supposed to be tough questions for John Dehlin, and each one of those episodes, including that last episode of Why Are Mormons So Hateful, they were all, I've listened to 8 hours now, even the State of the Union one that he gave out. Basically, the past little while, I've listened to 8 hours of them boobing about their sob stories recently. Just
something happened.
Well,
something happened behind the scenes.
Margie called it diagnose PTSD.
Yeah, well, we know because Margie's there instead of Jen. Something probably happened with Jen, I'm guessing, because she's the one who's not there now. It was still there.
This guy, though, that's on the screen now, he just looks like somebody who'd be cast by Tim Heidecker. One of those Tim and Eric. Doesn't he just have that kind of uncanny face, like he just belongs on TV but doesn't?
Well, I'd say that I don't get. John Dehlin called him like a top scholar. I guess you knew him a little bit, Jared. This is Patrick Mason, who's right now considered one of the top apologist scholars and the person who all sorts of different New York Times or whatever turns to when
he does his Mormon apologetics independently of the church. He doesn't work for the church, right? He's
independently, yeah. But
he's not like Dan McClellan, who works for the church and is trying to. So the outsider,
he's independently, but he is as bad as
scholar is.
He is as bad as Dan McClellan. He comes on here and the whole thing's like framed as like John Dehlin's taking on the hard ones, and it's John's been complaining so much lately that he's been ostracized and pushed out, and nobody in the church would listen to him. And now he got the top scholar back in, and oh look, he's back in, but he's going to give me tough questions. And we're going to reconcile. So
I figured out who he looks like. Eric Butts.
Is that the dude from like what's it? Not Napoleon Dynamite, but the
No. It's the dude who cried reacting to the Star Wars
Oh
trailer.
yeah.
He has a name.
Yep, it's Eric Butts. He has a YouTube channel.
Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah.
Cry for the Star Wars.
That's maximum cringe.
Kevin Smith did it.
Oh yeah, he did that
Kevin
a million
Smith,
times. He cried
Kevin
to
Smith
anything
cried
for a while.
for Last Jedi.
He cried for everything. He did it for a while because he was so obviously pandering, trying to get a job back in Hollywood. So then they gave him He-Man.
And he screwed that up.
This is basically the energy that he took to John Dehlin too.
No fucking way.
No.
Yep, exact same energy too. Let me see.
That makes me think of Noah Harari talking about how, what are we going to do with the useless people? I guess give them drugs and video games. And they all turn into that guy. He's just Rich Evans screaming, ATST, ATST.
I was thinking he kind of looked like this dude from Gentleman Bronco and School of Rock. Let me see. This dude. Remember this guy?
He kind of does.
Yeah, he's got the energy though too, because he just went in there straight up to be another person to suckle up to John Dehlin.
Yeah, that's all he does.
Poor old oppressed John Dehlin.
The first tough question that he asked John Dehlin is like, isn't it rough on you getting all this mean comments toward you?
Yes, and those are the tough questions. And what was the last one? It's like something like, how does it make you feel?
How do you feed your soul?
How do you feed your soul? Tough questions. Tough questions
I
from
know,
John Dehlin.
it was-
and then it just turned into another 2 hours of him moving about the church.
Oprah is a tougher interviewer. How do you feed your soul?
I know. It sounds like they were in a fucking drum circle or something.
Not at that time anymore. We're not in the early 1960s. And so I think it's time to put that money to use. The church could become the next Gates Foundation. I don't think the church should only.
This is the Hegelian nightmare I've been pointing at. You know, the Mormon church going full corporate woke to me is the great merger of all things that I didn't like in the world. and I've been on the side of Mormonism like lately, because like the Mormonism I knew would have stood up to this stuff, but now it's swilling into being the thing that seems like it's going the same direction down the same river. But the full marriage up of those two things, that's man bear pig to me, man.
Yeah. No, the BYU reaction to that Duke race hoax, we can just go ahead and come out and call it a hoax now. We know.
Oh, hell yeah.
Like that's so terrifying to me, because like they just not even the slightest bit of what's the word, reservation. I can't even think of the word I wanted to use here. Like they just immediately jumped into we're sorry.
It was
and
it was what Jared was just saying earlier. It's flipped around to guilty until proven innocent. It's
yeah,
guilty until
absolutely.
proven
Yeah.
innocent.
Well, no, it's guilty, and we don't care if you're proven innocent.
Yeah.
And frankly, if
Oh,
you're
but it
proven
turns out
innocent,
we
talking
found
about
out.
it is recentering the conversation on white people. Therefore, that's racism. If you talk about how you aren't racist, you're racist. We know this.
I should put like a little like thing of like Star Wars on the screen right there for him to be looking at. Whoa, Star Wars!
ATST,
ATST. Oh, he does kind of look like Rich when he's saying ATST. You're right. I should pull that up.
The nerd squad
Yeah,
or
I have
whatever.
such a hard time with these. I really should listen to more of these, but it just gets to be too much.
I listen to too much and I want to beat my head against the wall by then. And what I'm telling you is dead serious. I probably listened to 12 hours of it recently in the past 2-3 weeks, and at least 8 to 9 hours of it have been them giving their sob story, because it just got set up that way. John got interviewed. Now Larsen's here giving his thing. And then this whole entire thing turned into once again, John Dehlin getting to give all his grievances and complain and whine and complain.
So
It's
in
just
this
his
3
angle.
hours and 23 minutes of this episode, is any of it a scholarly defense of faithful Mormonism?
Yeah, he does a little bit of it, but it
Not
gets
very
in
much.
not very much because they say they run out of time and he kind of gets on, but it's a little bit of the same old stuff. But
The hell
he'll
does it
say
even
stuff
look
like he doesn't. I mean, it's Dan McClellan. It's Dan McClellan, but Dan McClellan actually, in all actuality, doesn't speak out very much about Mormon issues because I don't.
Do you
think he
have
wants
the
to be caught out on
searchitizer
that
for the
stuff.
script on this one, the transcript?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
if you just search empathy, how many times does that word come up? Let's look up some. Yeah, we should do. Oh my God, we do one of those word bubbles.
Oh yeah,
for John.
we should.
Empathy.
No empathy in this one.
I gotta stop saying like. I say
There's
like.
there's empathize.
Yeah.
I can take out your likes if you want to.
Do you like me? No, I gotta learn to. I gotta take out.
Oh,
my
there's
like.
empathize. Yeah.
Can you scroll through? It doesn't show. It's not like other things where it shows you how many instances there are.
No, it'll show up at the top there. Like better is going to be. That's all going to be do betters. Do better. Do better. Do better. Do. I remember him saying that.
Be
like,
better.
Do better. Be better.
We're better. Be better. Or better.
Build back better. Build back better, like Bill Gates. Build back better, like
Slightly
Bill
better.
Gates Foundation. Gates Foundation. Bill Gates. Do better to.
Bill Gates better.
Yeah, we all need to do better.
I want it to be better.
I thought.
I believe.
Okay, that was just recently. I thought that was. I landed on it.
That God is working. I understand.
I want to get back to
the
where
church is a big, huge global institution.
Oh, he gets it.
That I understand investment strategies, and you create more wealth so that you have more to spend down the road, and projections of will there be declining membership and declining tithing revenues and all that. I get all of that. At one point, Bill Gates said $100 billion is infinite money. Now that was a while ago. There's been inflation and so forth, but at a certain point, how much is enough?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And of course, the
You feel me, John Dehlin?
the
Yeah,
investment
yeah.
funds that we know about. No, I mean that's only part.
Oh
of it.
my
I mean, there's
gosh,
all
yeah.
of the investments in land and properties, and so the church's portfolio is a lot bigger than that $100 billion or whatever it is right now with the stock market. I think it's time to start putting that money to use.
Time.
The first century of the church was pretty rough, right? Financially pretty rough. As late as the 1960s, it was
I'm
rough.
so
The church
sorry.
almost
I
went bankrupt
want
in the
the
early
church to
1960s,
hold on to their money
because of excessive spending and so forth.
I want them to hold on to their money as much as possible, because this is the thing I've thought about a lot, where it's like, that giant grain silo in South Salt Lake, or the south side of Salt Lake, technically. Like, they intend to share. Like, if the economy collapses, like, and the only institution around me that still has any money is the Mormons, good.
Yeah,
good. Like,
I'm gonna be
unless they
stoked that I
become-
never resigned my membership. So
yeah, like,
Unless they
do
become
I
the
want
Gates
the government to be
Foundation.
the last organization with money? No. Like,
To me,
do I want the Wokies to be the last organization with money? No. But like the church,
do I want
for
the
all
Gates
their
Foundation?
many flaws, they're really smart about money. They're extremely Ned Flanders about their money, and that's good. I'm glad
they
that there's
got
somebody that's extremely
over-
conservative about money.
they got over $100 billion. They got to be really smart about money. Like I would love for the government to be that stingy.
No, the whole part about it is like the church can take the long view. That's one of the things, like, why the church is so successful in investment. I think partly is because they get to take the long view. They don't have to take any big risks, because like it's not about here and now. It's about what's to come, and that's a big advantage.
And there's no dumping it off because somebody died or something like that.
Yeah,
And
yeah, exactly.
That's how they out
There's
survive.
no cashing in. Yeah, there's no cashing.
That's how
in because
religions
they're
out
retired.
survive nations and that sort of deal. But
Yeah.
the Gates Foundation, I mean, there's only a few foundations in the world that I'd less prefer it to be.
And that led to baseball baptisms, et cetera, et cetera. But
this guy, he's outside of the church, but I guarantee you, he has the ear of the church. If he's the guy that New York Times and NPR are calling up for positive reviews of stuff, he's got the ear of the church with him, and he's going in there telling them, "Oh yeah, we're going to become like the Gates Foundation." And I believe that Russell M. Nelson is totally like, "Oh yeah, yeah." In my view,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
probably like that.
But the church is it's been phenomenally well managed financially over the past half century, which has put it's there's still church leaders alive right now who remember those times of near bankruptcy. So that's one of the things you get with a very old church leadership, that they remember, they have long memories. But we're not at that time anymore. We're not in the early 1960s. And so I think it's
so we should spend it on vaccines.
Time to put that money to use. The church could become the next Gates Foundation.
Don't. I will go back to being an angry ex-Mormon.
Yeah, stay the same church. Don't be the next anything. Stay the same Mormonism.
Don't go falling into the ways of the world that the world needs you to be. The way John Dehlin and Larsen think you should spend money.
You got to be the church that everybody needs,
Like,
and not the church that everybody deserves.
It's just like I love that thing. Because I'm not particularly a fan of Elon Musk, but sometimes the way he owns the media, but like that when that guy was like, Elon Musk could solve world hunger with $4 billion, so he just replied, "Okay, tell me how we're doing this, and the money's yours." And of course, there was, because like obviously it's not as simple as just buying everyone a meal tonight. It's just not that simple, And like, how do you get to adulthood and still have such a naive view of poverty?
Well, it's always just that everybody that talks about the Mormon church having too much money, it's all it is imagine all the good I would do if I had that money. Like, fuck off. You would die in a pile of hookers and cocaine if you had that money.
Like, it feels like all you have to do is spend 1 hour observing a homeless camp on my block right now in downtown Salt Lake City. Like the other day, I messaged you, I think, didn't I, Chris? I walked one Salt Lake City block to the 7-Eleven at like 8:30 at night, and I counted 40 people camping on the sidewalk. You just have to spend a few minutes really watching those people, just observe them, and you realize like it's not that these people just need help and nobody wants to help them. It's so obviously so much more and bigger and deeper than that. And yet, like every goddamn time I turn on news talking about homelessness, it's somebody saying like, "There's just not enough services."
It's not the Marxist answer. It's not the Marxist answer that just spreading out that money will cure everybody's problems. John Dehlin always gets on the thing like the atonement doesn't work. Neither does just spreading out $1 billion, John.
Yeah.
Right.
Throwing money at homeless people doesn't solve their problems.
I don't know what all is going there. I understand the importance of risk management for large institutions, and I know the church is not exempt from any of that. But
we've always said risk management ends up acting just like woke. You can't tell the dang difference.
I'd like to bear my testimony. I know the church is not averse to risk management strategies. This is where we're at in Mormonism.
Like why he supposedly went on to ask John Dehlin tough questions. It still all ended up being like a struggle session for the Mormon guy, and the Mormon people are giving into it. They're giving into the Maoism. They're saying, "Oh yeah, we're getting in line. We'll get in line with all stuff and start tap dancing for us." You say jump, we say how high. Jump, Patrick Mason, jump. Hey, Patrick Mason, you want to give money to all the homeless people? Hey, it's your chance to go on John Dehlin and grovel and cry and whine about how bad you are. Thanks, Patrick Mason.
Yeah, a version of this only for empathy.
You did a good job.
Oh my gosh!
Ooh, remember empathy? I remember.
Hey, Patrick Mason, John Dehlin thinks Pete, you're causing harm. Trans kids are killing themselves because of you, Patrick Mason.
Ooh, remember the Trevor Projects?
Oh my god.
There has to have been a part where Kara asked him how he reconciles all of the deaths that he personally caused.
Him?
Yeah.
Or Meldrum, because Kara's not there in the background of those regular ones.
Oh yeah.
She woulda. She woulda.
Did she ask Meldrum about blood on his hands?
Pretty much. I mean,
No, just not directly.
Not directly, but she was just constantly going after him about.
Why do Ex-Mormons appear so angry? It might be the anger.
You're probably angry.
A lot more.
Yeah, it's
secular
funny
by
that
the
they
day.
say,
It's-
why do Ex-Mormons appear so angry? Because it's obvious that they are angry. Why don't they just acknowledge that and be like, why are Ex-Mormons so angry?
Because how many ways are you going to put this? Because your anger is apparent.
Yeah.
That's why you appear angry.
Getting very divisive and dogmatic, but we know that the scale of the less religious a country gets, the more poverty decreases, and the more reasons I think that people aren't choosing a religion and they're going more secular routes. And
It's like it's testimony again. Crap. I know poverty decreases with atheism.
than truth.
Tribalism.
And tribalism
Yeah.
and
Oh,
sometimes
okay, you
greed,
think
depending on how you
tribalism
condition.
stops, huh? You think tribalism ends when religion leaves?
If we can just get rid of all those religious people, just a few more people to get rid of. Stalin always was just a few more away.
Yeah.
Just a
Look,
few
that's
more
the
away.
great
of
irony is that
utopia.
like the free markets are murder to bigotry. Like they're not a total cure, but like they do more to fight racism than anything else possible. It's capitalism. Capitalism is the solution. Because, you know, a very true criticism of capitalism is that it has no feelings and doesn't care. Which also means that when it comes to things like race and religion, it has no feelings and it doesn't care. That's a good thing. It's a good thing to not care about race.
Capitalism and sports.
Yeah.
What is she doing with her arms here? Hold on. Well, all the arm movement, because I don't know what they say here. I haven't watched it yet, but what's all the arm movement?
You're just popping through.
Through the Church of
Yeah.
Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
This one was live when we started, so we didn't even get to.
Yeah, I just talked to Kara the other day. Like, we need more female owned and led content in the ex-Mormon space.
That are
Owned
And,
and led.
Wait.
Why did I know when she was doing some flex thing? I was gonna say it was gonna be some Mary Sue thing, but
there's plenty, like especially in the early days.
That's mostly women now. I don't know. Tell that to, like, you can promote my wife's channel. She gets less and less views the more she quotes Jordan Peterson.
You know what? I mean,
no.
oh jeez. Here's the other thing though. It's like, because if I want to be a total dick about it, and I will because I can, because it's true. Because like John Larsen did it entirely on his own. John Dehlin did it entirely on his own. Lindsay Park had her hand held by John Larsen, and John Larsen set her up and got her going and pushed her ship out of dry dock, as it were. You know.
Yeah.
So like, not only have there been women in this space from the beginning, but like just like the WNBA, it's men making it happen.
Yeah, we don't need your help, but we need you to help us.
Strong.
Hold on 1 second. Talk amongst yourselves. I'm doing something stupid. Hold on.
What are you drinking?
I was just
Me?
Tea.
Yeah. I'm doing no alcohol for September, so.
Oh, fun.
Being boring. I do feel like we should take a moment right now to anybody watching this. You should know that alcohol is actually pretty dangerous for you. It's like a bad drug.
Oh my goodness,
So
it is
it's
one of
not the solution for anything.
Well, I was telling people at the start that no Mormon ever has to worry about that because you're beyond it. Was I wrong? Was I wrong about that?
It's great for ex-Mormons because we don't drink till we're 30. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good thing. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. At the very least, like, you should not get properly drunk until you're 25. If you're gonna get properly drunk, wait until you're at least 25. But yeah, really the thing to do is to do the Italian style drinking, which is you have a glass of wine with dinner, and that's what that is.
Yeah, my 1-year-old the other day got a hold of my glass of whiskey. Like a few weeks back, I was just sitting there and I turn around for a second and he saw the glass and he just grabs it off the TV tray. And I look over right as he's doing it. And he just like dumps it all over his face. And then he looks at me like he's so betrayed. He's like,
smoking carton jars.
What the fuck, Dad? Why would anyone drink this?
I think you're a
He
monster.
was so sad. He probably
This didn't pay off well enough. But
Oh, When I arrived in
Oh.
Brazil when I was 16, the first thing I saw was like, holy shit, I'm in another country. As we were driving from the airport into the city, and we're on the freeway, and I looked into the car next to me, and I see a toddler dressed in nothing but diapers, standing on the back bench of the car seat, not car seat, the bench, no car seat, no buckle, sipping on a can of Miller beer. And literally toddler in diapers, beer, unbelted, rocketing down the freeway. I'm like, oh, we're in Brazil.
And so we need to support our creators, whether that's Self on the Shelf or Kara or others, Lindsay Hanson Park, Your Polygamy. Like, we need more female voices. So
I don't know, because I'm trying to ask, I haven't talked to Lindsay in years. But there's a reason you don't see Lindsay and Dehlin together very much anymore.
Yeah.
It's
I
just
also-
lip service.
It's
I'm
like
gonna
a
just
stupid
do a
thing.
I just Googled ex-Mormon. The top result is, I don't know, some woman in her, or not Google, on YouTube. I just went to YouTube. The top result is a woman in her temple clothes. The next one is Jordan and McKay. Somehow they're very boring. I don't know how. Couple down is Exmo Lex, more Exmo Lex, Cara Burrell.
There's some TikTokers who are getting kind of famous now.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know their
Oh,
names,
hey,
but
my wife.
I just did ex-Mormon TikTok. Top result, woman. Second result, woman. Third result, same woman. Fourth result, different woman.
I know. So this is just, it's just so, he's just saying that to say it.
Yeah, just like we just spent 45 seconds going like, no, there's women, John. They're all over.
I think there's more women than men.
Yeah. Like, because we're just kind of going like, because we're not plugged in, but it's like, well, yeah. But nope, you say it. You just have to keep saying it.
John has this library of over 300. How many episodes, John Larsen?
For Mormon Expression, I think there were like 289 or something like
Yeah.
290.
Yeah, so there's this phenomenal archive of like pure raw John Larsen at his best over multiple years, tackling some of the most important issues in Mormonism. It's still relevant. He often
The
had
thing is-
panels, really fun.
I mean, he's been going over all the recent Mormon issues with that Mormon Discussions guy or whatever. So Mormon Discussions. But like Larsen had an episode on the Kinderhook plates. Well, now you've got somebody on TikTok's covered the Kinderhook plates. The RFM's covered the Kinderhook plates. These guys have already recovered the Kinderhook plates. The guy that you brought on the last few days, I think it's called Mormon Discussions, has covered the Kinderhook plates. Like, you cover the Kinderhook plates again and again and again and again and again and again. And I mean,
That's why you kind of have to, like, ex-Mormon podcasting, you either have to take the religious angle, which Mormon Stories did, or you have to do kind of like what John Larsen did. It's like, well, I made a bunch of episodes, I said all the stuff.
yeah, that's about
Done.
it for that. Yeah.
Because like you say, like, how many times can we cover the same old shit?
Yeah.
Infants on Thrones is a
And the thing is, like, as it goes along, people have covered it better and more in detail and thoroughly. And it's like, yeah.
podcast.
But you know what you'll never run out of, ever?
Empathy.
Stories of harm. Stories
He's
of
saying,
harm.
what's he
And
saying?
then you can
Infants
have
and
empathy
Thrones?
with the harm. What?
He's saying Infants on Thrones spun off from what?
Expression.
Infants and Thrones spun off from Mormon Expression?
No, yeah, because is it Glenn Osland? I forget. One of the, in the
But they
very
weren't
early,
on Mormon Expression, were they?
of the very, very early Mormon Expression. I don't know. I hear different stories about this. There was some.
I was there. I was
there's
listening.
a female Mormon podcaster. I won't even say which one, because I once asked her, because when I was trying to get the Mormon Expression job, actually, when that Adam Archer got, because I never formally applied for it ever.
Yeah, you just
I
said,
was trying-
"Hey, I'll do
I
it."
was
'cause
trying to talk to John.
He was reaching out, saying,
Yeah.
"Hey, I need somebody for this."
And so I talked to somebody else who had worked with John a lot in the podcasting world. And you can probably work out who this is. And I said, do you have any advice on working with John? And this person replied with one word: don't. And I was really taken aback by it, because she didn't elaborate. I didn't ask her to elaborate. She just said, don't. That was her answer. Don't work with John Larsen. So, yeah.
I don't think he ever gave you the time of day when you'd already been on the podcast. Adam Archer.
No, yeah, no, that's
but the
what-
thing is,
that's
I
what
think
made
he
me
was already
frustrated, 'cause, I couldn't
sensing
get an
that we
answer,
were.
yeah.
I think he
I
already sensed that we were
Not-
more brutish than brutish.
Well, yeah, maybe.
Brutish.
Yeah, I don't know. That's things like in retrospect, 'cause that's the thing, like at the time I was really annoyed and I was confused and I'm like, why am I getting blackballed like this?
Well, because Adam Archer came out and he was just like completely docile, you know.
He's so bad.
And I think John had already kind of figured out that we were insensitive to feminism and stuff like that already at that point.
Although back then he was too. Like I wish I could find it. It was
He
so
was too, but
funny
he
and
wouldn't have
pithy.
wanted his podcast to be as willing to say it as we were.
There was a way back.
And not
there was
we.
an
I wasn't
old-
even putting my name on it.
There was an old John Larsen Facebook post that like I wish that I had screenshotted, and I remember even sending it to you way back in the day, where it was funny because like, and I mean, I'm sure he buried it now, but he said like I just spent an afternoon reading about the feminist attitude on lipstick, and what I found, and I can't remember exactly how he worded it, but it was just so funny and pithy. But basically, like, you know, it's okay if I don't notice it's sexist. If I do notice it's sexist for women not to wear lipstick. It's sexist for women to wear lipstick. And he basically just pointed out, like, reading the feminist literature on lipstick is entirely schizophrenic, and it was funny. and then that was like one of the last things I ever saw him post.
And now
that was
he's just fully
unwoke.
on board. And it's like the question is, did he get in line because he actually started believing? Did he get in line because his kids pushed him into believing, or did he get in line because if he wants to make bread and butter in this world, he's got to get in line with that stuff? Like what? I don't get it.
Well, maybe
If I
after
had
burning
to-
all of his Mormon bridges, he got love bombed by the woke.
If I had the patience, I'd go through and listen to a shitload of Mormon expressions and then make a supercut of
I
John
don't think it-
Larson
I don't think
versus
it
There
John
are some
Larson.
old episodes that I think are really, really good and worth listening to. Like
I don't think it'd hold up. I don't think it would. Maybe it would, but I don't know.
I off the top of my head, the episodes that I listened to a lot that I thought were great was the Nauvoo Expositor for Dummies was really, really good.
I might have listened to that one.
But that's just it. Is like now at this point, some people have like gone into it because those episodes are a bit more loosey goosey, you know, kind of just like, yeah, we read some stuff, we're talking some stuff. Whereas
You
some
know-
more people like RFM have really gone through bullet points of all the stuff now. And so,
Oh, really? See, maybe it's been a long time because like it might be really interesting to go back and listen to John Larson's "What Not to Do When Leaving the Church" episode and see if that John Larson agrees with modern John Larson.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Is you make a supercut of John Larson versus John Larson.
So some of his more popular ones are like, you can't build a boat. Like,
Yeah,
from
that was
time
a
frame.
later episode. Because like for me, most of the classics, like the golden era, like the seasons 3 to 9 of Simpsons of John Larson, are like episodes like 20 to 120, something like that. Like there was kind of a window there where like that was the heart of it. That was John at its best, and the topics were the big ones, and they were fresh. And then it kind of started to peter out, and like he started to get a lot more diplomatic, definitely toward the end. Which I like again, like when I first saw the Adam Archer episode, I was like, I'm like, oh, you went this direction, like.
Yeah, the Adam Archer seemed like this John Larson would hate that Adam
Yeah.
Archer stuff because he's trying. It totally just tries to like reconcile with Mormonism.
Adam
hardcore.
Archer's trying way too hard to make friends.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know if it'd hold up. I really don't.
But
you hear Flip on several of them, even though John Larson's going to pretend like he doesn't exist now.
if you go to Reddit,
And then if you see the Infants on Thrones Sunstone stuff with Kate Kelly, you might notice a moderator on that episode
Yeah.
too by the name of Flip.
Yeah, I used
What a rock
to
star.
consider Lindsay a friend. I used to help her at Sunstone. That was my contribution, is I would help her out for Sunstone.
and they talk about the most important Mormon themed podcast episodes of all time. Multiple episodes from John Larson always shoot to the top and pass over.
I know exactly what kind of a Mormon John Dehlin was, and that's because it's his method of talking himself up. He gets you in your own mind to talk him up by it was I went over it before in that video I did about him, about how when he's talking about all these ex-Mormon treasures, he's like, oh, there's these treasures, there's your Jonathan Streeters, your Lindsay Hansen Parks, yourself on this show. He names everyone except himself, the rock star of ex-Mormonism. And like, it's because he wants you to fill that in your head. and be like, oh, it does two things. One, it makes you say, oh, he's so humble, he didn't even name himself. But it also gets you to name him in your head because obviously he's part of that group of people. It's the fake humility thing. I know
There's a thing
what
that
kind of
he-
Mormon he was.
There's a thing that he does with that too, that he hides the people that have unfriended him. Like you'll hear him drop like New Name Noah's name. You'll hear him drop Lindsey Hansen Park's name. You'll hear him drop Kate Kelly's name. You'll hear him drop Infants on Throne, where we know that Matt guy from Infants on Throne is the dude who's been backing Rosebud and all that sort of stuff. He'll slip it in and talk about them and say, go check them out. And it's a weird way to camouflage that he's had falling out with those big
Oh yeah,
falling
I don't hear him mention New Name Noah anymore.
I've heard him since then. I've heard him mention New Name Noah. Yeah,
Really?
Since the big blow up, he has mentioned him as somebody who went and got the temple video and stuff like that. And just there's a way that he does it when he just goes mentioning these people. Like I don't think I'd be capable of mentioning, like we mentioned Lindsey Hansen Park, and it kind of goes hands in hand with we had a falling out with Lindsey Hansen Park, you know. And we don't. The way he does it is he'll make it like drop the name like, well, Lindsey Hansen Park, like we're still cool, you know what I mean? And she's cool with me because I dropped her name and that sort of stuff. And no, you know, Lindsey Hansen Park totally sided with Kate Kelly. Kate Kelly, we know, is openly disdainful of him.
Oh, yeah,
wrote that
she's
open letter.
Not a fan.
Yeah.
She's
And
like I guess she pops up every once in a while, but I'm so glad she's not a big deal anymore.
Oh, I know.
I find her pretty odious.
You remember I actually saw her in the mainstream a couple years ago. Do you remember that when she
Well,
posted one of the dumbest things I've ever heard?
Yeah, she put the thing up of saying
Like, rape
that
didn't
Native
exist.
Americans didn't know about rape. And
Yeah.
You rape everybody.
They hadn't invented it.
But that Patrick Mason dude, you know, who's like one of the main champions in the United States, like her name is kind of behind it, along with some other people. She is one of the main public figures behind pushing the Equal Rights Amendment.
Yeah.
And guess what that Patrick Mason dude said? He says, I think the church can get behind that Equal Rights Amendment thing. I'm like, oh my gosh, dude. Like, just, oh. Guys, I mean, maybe this whole thing always has been a dialectic, and Dehlin always was kind of there to make them help them refit themselves into the Hegelian nightmare I'm worried about. But
1,600 Mormon Stories episodes, including how to build a transoceanic vessel, their discussion of the doctrine of Word of Wisdom, their discussion of DNC 132, just so many brilliant episodes.
Oh yeah, that 132 episode was a big old episode for people.
Yeah, that was a major one.
Oh, that's a pretty
There's a few that I
brutal
like.
scripture.
Really, and as I recall, the very best of Mormon Expression was John Dehlin and Mike Tannehill. That's for damn sure.
Oh yeah, because
That was
you
great.
talk, and you're actually still pretty good friends with Mike Tannehill.
You know what? Actually, maybe he's
You don't
off
hear from him much
Facebook.
anymore.
Like,
But then
I
you
was-
had
I mean, I
you
was
did a
not
whole
good friends with
interview
him,
with Mike Tannehill.
No, yeah, I did a Mormon Voices interview with Mike Tannehill.
Mike Tannehill was an apologist who actually dared to come on Mormon Expression. And he kind of,
He's an interesting guy. He said a lot of stupid stuff, but all in all, like that seems like, you know, like right now, if I had a choice of two people, like, you know, I need to trust someone to feed my cat. I can choose Mike Tannehill or John Dehlin. Mike Tannehill wins.
Well,
hands down, absolutely.
You've always been on the opposite sides of Mike Tannehill, and Mike Tannehill's always been willing and able to talk with you.
Yeah, no, that's one thing I love about Mike Tannehill is like he's willing to talk. He's that rare thing. He's willing to come down. Yeah, he must be because I just realized you brought him up. Like I haven't noticed him in a long time, and it's because
I thought I noticed him recently commenting on one of your posts out of nowhere, but
maybe.
And you don't post that often.
Because like he's the
You
kind
can
of guy
go
he's the guy obviously who would get zucked off of Facebook.
Oh yeah.
Oh
to-
yeah. No,
you just Google Mormon Expression.
But he got zucked out of these guys' world. They kind of started saying we shouldn't be
You can't
platforming Mike
me.
Tannehill
Don't
anymore.
platform harm.
Yeah.
You're just as bad as the harm.
And you can either find the Mormon Expression library on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts.
I wonder how many total episodes Heather did of that Mormon Voice. Was it called Voices? She did that thing where she was supposed to collect a bunch of.
She was supposed to
exit
do the
stories.
John Larsen job of just listening to people tell exit stories and stuff. That's kind of the idea. And like John Larsen, the expressions was going to be like more in depth, into topics and history and stuff. and Voices was just stories.
Yeah, well, she was going to get everybody's exit stories and just kind of rack them up and rank them up and put a bunch of them together and
She
just
did a
have
lot.
like a
She had
backlog of
dozen,
them.
didn't she? And then she broke off on her own and did her own independent podcast for a while.
Did she? I didn't know that.
I think she did.
She was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I have no idea where in the world she is right now. But I was telling Jared she came with us to that preacher guy's super PAC.
Yeah, you
meal
told
or
us
whatever.
that was so funny when you made him pray for Obama like that. So perfect.
Yeah.
Series with Karen John continue.
I don't know, this is them.
We're also going to.
Why does it always take them like 15 minutes?
MormonStories.org/Mormon Expression.
On camera, stuff the church has tried to bury.
Ooh, that sounds juicy.
Yeah, maybe I'm
Is that
getting
teasing
into.
a future episode?
Yeah,
Stuff the Mormon Church
yeah.
does
They
there?
said that they're gonna do an episode on all the affidavits or whatever that the Kurt McConkie.
No, you know what's happened? Maybe they are listening to us because they just heard our episode, our 3-hour episode on stuff the Democrats have tried to bury in the last 4 years. It took us 3 hours just to bullet point those. I'd like to see what the church has tried to bury. Because that's things like that's an episode that like I would love to hear from old John. Like if old John was like, hey, like if classic Mormon Expression episode John was gonna be like, hey, we're gonna do stuff the Mormon Church has tried to bury. Mike Tannehill will be here. Like that would be just 4 stars. Like great stuff. But yeah, now I wonder what it would be like.
See, I didn't even know that was in the works.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, John, you're awesome. And Kara, you're awesome.
You're awesome.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
You're all right.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, and everyone needs to ask John when Mormon Stories Palooza is. I keep threatening I'll fly into Salt Lake if we do a big live show. So
Yeah. You're basically.
Why would that be any different?
Just saying you want to have a Thrive kind of event where we get a bunch of people together, podcasters, YouTubers.
We have a big orgy where we report each other for touching hands.
TikTokers, and just allow kind of our community to kind of have a bunch of fun.
Yeah, a little bit.
So if
like
you were
Thrive,
if you had to spend 1 weekend at a convention, and you had to choose between the Mormon Stories Palooza or the Juggalo Gathering,
Easy.
Do you choose?
Easy, the Juggalo Gathering, easy.
Mormon Stories Palooza, I'm gonna get kicked out of like right away.
Yeah, that's true.
Like,
or Rowdy.
Invite us to come. We're
Rowdy
Mormon YouTubers.
Oh my gosh, they know, and they have to know that Rowdy, they can't even afford to pretend to try to be rowdy anymore. They can't even do it. They will be reported to HR faster than a little old lady listening to hymns at her desk.
No, Mormon
Oh,
Palooza
right.
is coming up like the first weekend of October. Do you know about that? It's called Mormon Palooza.
Oh yeah, tell us.
I'm
about
hosting
that.
it, I think.
Oh.
We will all sign papers that say we will not rape, and then we'll sign
Mormon
it.
Palooza is real.
Tell us about that, Kara.
I just heard about it from Mike Steed, who runs Mormons on Mushrooms podcast. So John Larsen's been on that podcast. I've been on that podcast. It's run by a couple friends of mine who
course
are
you have.
awesome. And so there's an entire post-Mormon kind of psychedelics community.
Community. It's a community.
Mormon
Community.
Palooza, the stuff you like.
And so they decided to put on a big kind of what you just described. There's going to be like a road show, and Lindsay Hansen Park is speaking. And
Lindsay
Speak of
Hansen
the
Park
devil.
speaking at psychedelia ex-Mormon stuff. Like, just,
I'm seeing the whole lineup here.
she's not done mushrooms. Come on.
I think I'm going to be emceeing part of it. And that's all I know so far. But you can go to Mormon Palooza on Instagram. I know they have an Instagram page. That's all I know.
Okay, fun. All right, John. There's your Mormon Palooza.
All right.
Yeah.
It's important to get out of the basement and meet other people. You'll feel much better.
With your masks and your vaxes.
Oh, for
You
sure.
gotta-
Yeah, for
You
sure.
gotta have your mask and your vax. Everybody got to sign the no rape paper.
Definitely doesn't have to be an N95 mask. You could, you could be a cloth gator, whatever.
You got to be triple, double, triple, quadruple boosted.
All right, but go live a healthy, big, beautiful, productive life. Carrie, you got something you want to add?
I just wanted to stare into that camera and be like, guys, if you can just get to what John is saying, both Johns, that it gets better. I can speak for myself.
It
I'm
gets
going through
better.
some personal stuff, some things that
Divorce. Polyamory, divorce. mushroom polyamory and divorce.
The only reason that I'm able to do that is because of the context and the bigger picture things. And I'm still very happy. I'm so much happier with the tools that I have learned as a post-Mormon that are grounded in better psychological principles. I'm able to do the hardest work of my.
You're lost.
I don't believe you.
You are out to sea. You are
Very
out in the
happy
middle of the
people
sea, and you
have to say
don't
they're
know
very
where
happy.
you are.
And
floating in an ocean.
honestly,
You know how I know one of the ways I know Norm Macdonald was a very happy person is how little time he spent talking about how happy he was.
Honestly, I'll put a disclaimer on this for us, a little preamble for if in fact you are being sincere. I don't apologize for what we're saying because we can't help it because we're just deterministically destined to say these things. So
The capitalism made me do it.
I was predetermined to doubt that you're grounded in any
So
way.
I'm looking at this Mormon Palooza thing, and I'm scrolling through, and there's a section on performers. And one of the performers is the Mormons on Mushrooms, which are Mike and Doug. Now,
what the hell's Mormon on Mushrooms?
I think you're just gonna watch
Let me
them
just read
trip.
these 3 paragraphs. Co-founders of Mormon on Mushrooms podcast, Mike and Doug explore various healing modalities, including plant medicine, yoga, breathwork, therapy, dreams, depth psychology, and so much more. Come along for the adventure as Mike and Doug take the stage to sing, laugh, and play for us. These modern-day pioneers seek ways to re-enchant our lives, explore expanded consciousness, shed limited perspectives, and uncover our own inner truth. What a bunch of drivel.
We got 6 empathies in there.
There is more in Mormonism. Like, I don't
absolutely.
believe in the church, but there is substance of the church. There is no substance to any of that shit.
Did they say anything about being life coaches? Because that's what they.
That's what it sounds like.
Right
But and I'm a proponent of mushrooms.
I've
oh hell yeah.
I think that people who want to do mushrooms should do mushrooms. But I just can't believe this stuff. Or these people like, hey, leave religion and come to us. And to do what exactly? Religion.
I guess I don't want to say that she's wrong in the way she's doing mushrooms because I'm not well versed in this. But the times I've done mushrooms, I would never do them often, and it's because I'm terrified. It was such an awesome thing that I'm terrified of ruining it by doing it too often. So
yeah,
I did them too often. I did them within maybe a 2-year period. I did them 30 times.
Yeah, same thing. And I predicted I had a summer where over one summer I probably did them a dozen times just in one summer. And it's
there's an old phrase from Terrence McKenna that says, when you get the message, it's easy to hang up the phone.
Yeah,
and I kind of got to a point where I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I know what this is. Okay.
Yeah, that seems because I've done mushrooms dozens of times, but we're probably getting close to a decade since I've done. No, geez, it's been 7 years since I last did any psychedelics at all. Huh.
Yeah, I rarely. It's been a long time since I've done any too, and I became far more right wing since I've done them. So watch out, watch out.
It's a gateway to the alt right.
The gateway to the alt right.
And all of the insecurities and all the things that you still struggle with, you kind of are able to pinpoint oh, I see it more clearly there. I see it more clearly there. And then having tons of empathy for the people around me and just, okay, when my mom was
I have so much empathy. I've got tons of it.
Don't.
God, I'm so filled with empathy.
Of what she was going through and kind of
fill me with your white hot empathy.
Now I'm a mom and I'm able to empathize with her more. So
hey baby, you got empathy? I got empathy.
Oh fuck, I'm gonna empathize so hard.
Dude, I got some things that'll make you empathize. You ever tried these empathizers? I got max empathizers.
You ever try empathy on weed?
They're golden. They're golden teachers, man. Golden teachers.
Crazy hard. Yeah. And I didn't put it in soup. So I had an empty stomach. So this is my own data. I'm just tossing here. But
yeah, I think
that's only empathies.
Do it on an empty stomach. A lot of people like to fast for a little while. I mean, fast. I know that's gonna be a triggering word, but
just thinking about it.
That's a triggering word.
What fast?
Oh, he's just saying
Oh
because
my God.
Mormonism.
You know what's funny though? Is like I just realized the absolute craziest thing that ever happened to me when I was doing mushrooms had nothing to do with mushrooms, and 100% to do with a voyeuristic, naked, peeping old man in my garden. Like, because I happened to have taken.
And it was
mushrooms at the
real?
time. No, but it was real. Yeah, it was just funny because it was like the first time I ever did mushrooms all by myself. Like I moved into a little studio in a little hippie place downtown, and they had this garden in front. It's funny because I brewed up mushroom tea, and I took a sip, and I smoked back then. I took a sip and I went down to the patio to have a cigarette, and I sat down on the patio and lit up. It was like twilight, and then I see like in the little garden area in front of the building, I see a shirtless old white-haired man crouching down. And at first I thought that it was my landlord who I was looking for, because I wanted to give him my rent check, because I had just moved in. And I said, "Oh, hey, John." And he goes, "Oh, I'm not John." And at that point I realized that he's entirely naked.
Yeah.
He kind of like glanced at my mushroom tea. I'm like, "No, it's been 10 minutes." And he's like, "I'm Bill, one of the neighborhood weirdos." And to which my mind immediately went to like, there's more than one of you? Do you guys like have meetings? Do you know each other? But then he said like, the next best part was that he said, "I'll just put on my pants and go." And he put on a shirt and no pants and left.
Oh
Like,
my
that is
God.
absolutely the weirdest thing that ever happened to me on mushrooms, and it was literally a real life naked man in my garden.
Oh, man,
it's creepy.
Mushrooms, man.
And achieving the goals in your New Year's resolutions and just trying harder. It's more like surrendering and shedding.
Mm-hmm. That's one of the biggest
Wait.
truths
Shedding
of
and
the
shedding.
universe.
Oh, that guy talked about
Really
shedding things. That must be a buzzword for them.
Did he just say
It's a
like,
truth of the universe.
Did he just say to like, no, get rid of these goals and New Year's resolutions and like bettering yourself? Just
You should.
surrender.
Mormonism, because it wasn't
Eat,
through
drink, and be merry.
men that were supposed to be like the arbiters of truth, right?
Yeah.
So now I just feel like I've come so far, and it's only been 3 years, but since I did trust those men, like I can't even recognize what I got out of that. Yeah, we left in 2019. It's 2022, so like I can't even recognize what I got out of those men because
This is where the divorce is coming from.
I think so. The other thing I just had a thought. It's like it was probably not good for Kara to be hired into the world of ex-Mormonism, fresh out of ex-Mormonism.
Oh no!
Because John Larsen was like many years into his faith crisis when he started Mormon Expression. But to be like, "Oh, I don't believe this anymore. Oh, now my job is not believing this anymore." That's not a good combination.
Oh no!
Oh no!
How much more we got?
Yeah, we can be done.
I was actually asleep. I fell asleep. I crashed hard. How long ago is this podcast from?
Where does it say? Does it say?
I thought it normally says like where it says
Yeah.
views, but maybe not on your weird version.
I thought it did say 4 months ago.
Oh, okay.
What do you think this episode was about that I just saw drop? How the LDS Church makes big money.
Today, I'm joined by a longtime friend of the channel, Mr. Alex Crandall.
Maybe that's something I shouldn't make fun of. I don't know. I just feel like I can't help it. That's probably me.
Money.
No, I mean, like everybody has affectations. It's easy to make fun of anybody for anything, but yeah, I don't know. Part of this is like
because like
I don't
always
feel
feel
like
like
this Tanner guy is genuine. I really feel like he's performing. Like
That
I
might
think
be
he's
it,
the guy who
because-
read Judith Butler and he's like, "Oh, I need to do this on purpose."
Yeah, Well,
Yeah.
I think he definitely acts feminine on purpose because when I met him, because I met him at BYU Idaho, he was in a sketch comedy group with my wife, and and
Fun.
yeah.
BYU sketch comedy is kind of a
yeah.
Like the concept is funny because you can't imagine anything funny happening.
And he was not.
I don't know. That Studio C stuff was. I thought there was some funny stuff.
There
in
was
that studio.
some good Studio C. But
Man, that one of that
It's
guy
so
getting
hard
hit.
to be funny in Mormon.
That guy getting hit in the face with the volleyball and soccer ball. That went viral. Didn't
that one
it?
was pretty good.
Oh yeah, that was.
That's
the Mormon one.
But I think because I think if like the laugh for some reason that laugh feels like it's fair game to make fun of, but something like it's like Kara talks about how she gets made fun of for her nose all the time, and I feel like that feels off limits to me. Like it's just mean to make fun of her nose because she can't help that.
Yeah, I
don't-
wouldn't
I don't want
bother
to be a
make them-
dick to somebody about
yeah.
their appearance, but then again, I was making fun of John Larsen for being fat, so I don't know.
Okay, so John Larsen trips me out. I was gonna ask the question, but it's like he's supposedly some super farmer, super eco-friendly, super whatever. If he's really following all that stuff to the T, what product keeps you fat? Like I honestly like wonder about it. Like, although I did find out,
I don't know.
from
Starburst
Flip's
is
cousin,
vegan.
from Flip's vegan cousin, I found out that Oreos were vegan too. But
yeah,
I didn't know
but
that.
it might be beer or something like that. But there's just part of me that just kind of goes, if you really, really live that life and really, really do, because it's not just the fact that you could find some food or whatever, but if you're doing all that farming work and
Yeah, if
then
you're actually
actually
doing
getting
farm
food
work.
from that farming stuff, like he says he's a farmer now, and that's where you're getting most of your food because you're trying to be sustainable. I'm sorry, there's no way you're going to keep weight on. You're not going to.
He's
keep
virtue
that weight on.
farming. He's not producing anything. He's virtue farming.
Yeah, it's probably got like grapes or something like that. Stuff like
see, this is
if
one
the
of those
apocalypse
things,
come, he's not living off his farm.
Like my buddy that I have a friend that works for the Department of Agriculture, and he's a bee specialist. He's an entomologist, and he's a bee specialist. And he says, like people always ask him because they heard about this like colony collapse thing, and they're like, "I want to help the bees. How do I set up a hive for my urban beehive to help the bees?" And he like always tells them, it's like, well, you can set up a hive and you can import a colony of European honeybees that will compete with local pollinators. But really, the thing to do is to just plant pollinating flowers. But people aren't interested in that.
Yeah,
because that's not as fun.
I know, it's
yeah.
not as fun, and it doesn't.
And it's harder to
not as
virtue
much of a
signal
signal.
without. Yeah.
That's
Like,
what
yeah, 'cause,
John
like, really,
John
that's the thing,
says
like,
that
you should
he
plant ugly flowering plants in your yard that are native, that and that's the thing to do. But yeah, that's not cool. So
maybe that's what he does, because John says that in some sort of way he volunteers with the university for insects or some sort of way. But maybe that's all it is that he actually follows
might
through
be-
with planting some things, and that's
no,
it.
and it might be that he's taking federal money to plant pollinating plants on his land, because I know
That's
those
probably what it
programs
is. That's probably the entire thing.
and he gets to say, "Look what I'm doing for."
I'm
look
doing
what
a farm,
for
and
everyone."
I'm volunteering time with the university, and I'm a farmer. And
shit.
Yeah. Anyway,
alrighty.
I
You
don't
got
think
another
there's
one?
anything else to say. What do you think of Black Ariel, Flip? We covered that before you got here. Also, Keanu Reeves came on our stream. Did you know that?
Keanu Reeves?
Yeah, you missed
Really?
Keanu.
Keanu Reeves
Oh.
popped up.
I'll have to watch the episode to see what happened. Black Ariel, I don't know. Like, I mean, you saw what I saw when we were talking to Marty, or it's just one of those things where it's like if you hadn't already broadcasted what you're doing and why, it might not even be that controversial,
Yeah.
because it's just kind of like because I don't know, I remember in the 80s and 90s of hearing about this stage production cast Annie as a black girl because she could sing, like, oh, okay,
It
that's fine.
seems like in stage
But
productions,
it's
it makes
yeah,
more sense.
they already told us we're making Ariel black because we think you're racist.
Yeah.
And people said, well, we're not racist, and we like our centuries old mythology the way it is, thanks. And then they say, see, we told you were racist.
Yeah.
That's really all there is to that. And it's that nasty Marxist dialectic at work, because it's working. They create the conflict, and now we're stuck with it. There's no way out of it. We can't just move past fucking Black Ariel now. That's bad phrasing.
Yeah. Well, what's he gonna do? What's gonna be the next?
Let me do I'll take this argument. Hey, Disney, really? You can't find any traditional African mythology featuring a young princess and make a fucking story out of that? What's the matter with you? Find one. There must exist at least one.
I already pulled up that they even
The only real bravery is in corrupting IP.
They even had rights to Cleopatra, and some
Oh,
people
yeah.
might argue like what her skin would be like or
Oh,
not.
I
but
remember that
I don't
thing when
think
they
anybody would bitch if you chose black.
What was her name? Gal Gadot? Gal Gadot?
Yeah.
Gadot?
Gal Gadot.
They
They're like,
threw a
oh no,
fit.
they need to have an Arab play Cleopatra. Like, oh my god, you fucking idiots! Jesus Christ.
They did that with Rami Malek in Night at the Museum. They were like all mad about King Tut being played by a white guy, and they're like, "This is Rami
He's
Malek.
Egyptian. He's
fucking Egyptian."
Oh my god, yeah, it's astounding the stupidity.
No, here's the thing though: is are we putting money on which character is going to be gay? Because Sebastian is my bet.
Oh yeah, I forgot they got to have a gay person in there.
They'll have a gay character, and it'll be the first of some kind. It's kind of like sports.
It's got to be
announcers,
Sebastian
how every
Flounder.
single-
I'll put money down on Flounder.
You could do Flounder. Okay,
Well,
my bet is Sebastian, definitely.
Maybe Flounder sounds a bit too obvious, and they would say, of course, Flounder is going to be gay. It's going to be the Le Poisson guy. It's going to be the fish cutter dude. Le Poisson, the chef.
NPR. Halle Bailey making waves in representation with live action Little Mermaid.
When does that come
that's
out?
NPR now.
Next year.
In the
sometime.
Washington Post, in the new Little Mermaid, black girls and moms see themselves. Like, god damn it. I mean, I commented on the NPR thing where it's like, you can tell you're racist if you broadcast your racial preferences in media. Like, that's what they're all doing. Like, I mean, there's that. I think I sent it to you. That thing where like NPR, it's a quote like, "Mommy, she looks like me." Like, no, that girl was coached to be a racist. You know?
Yeah.
Obviously, like, I mean, we've said it a million times. Like, yeah, we turned off the NBA because, like, well, most of those people don't look like me at all.
Yeah.
You know, like yeah, it's like I would only watch the Jazz if Mark Eaton, John Stockton. Like, can we make a white Jazz from memory? Jeff Hornacek.
Yeah, Tom Chambers. I think he played a little bit.
Chambers. Yeah.
So what was this family life like?
Greg Ostertag. No, we've already got a center because Mark Eaton. If we got a center, it's going to be Mark Eaton, not Ostertag.
So what was this mother-daughter relationship like before this came out? Because it's like I can see them watching Frozen or whatever, be like, "Mommy, I love Elsa. She has super ice powers," and the mom's like, "Wow, wouldn't it be awesome if she looked like you so that you could like her?" Oh,
what are the chances
yeah.
that there is a copy of Anti-Racist Baby in that household?
This was my favorite toy when I was a kid.
But he doesn't look like you.
I love the junkyard dog. It was like a rubbery toy like that, and it had a chain with it, and it was my favorite toy to play with.
You know what? So like, if we take that and give it an orange spray tan, it'll look just like your pictures from when you competed.
That's true. I was in blackface.
Yeah. Well, orange face.
No, did you ever see my initial picture? It looks blackface. And you want to know
Yeah,
what?
no, it is. It's. Yeah,
I actually
really.
sent it to Carden once and said, "Does this look like blackface?" And I don't think he realized it was me. And I still don't think
I
he
would
realized
never
it was
know
me.
in a million years that if you didn't say there's a picture of me, I wouldn't have guessed. I wouldn't fucking know. It's kind of terrifying. We should put this up here.
Let me see if I can find it real fast before we get too bored.
Have you seen this picture, Jared? that
I
we're
have
talking
not.
about?
I don't think I have
This
it
first
posted up
competition?
anywhere.
It's got to be somewhere. Is it?
I
It's
don't
on
think I have
your
it
Facebook,
posted.
isn't it?
No, I have some of them where I'm tan, but I don't have my super.
The competition picture.
Even when I did the competitions, you'd get sprayed 2 days before, and so it kind of slowly started fading. This was like right after a triple spray, and I had a shaved head, and I was like, I'll find it.
See, now here's this is a fun thing to go at all these people who want to talk about how white skin tone is always considered better. Because I am still confused. Like, I remember asking you, like, why do you have to go through this tan stuff? Like, it's just a competition, man. Like, the muscles look better with a dark skin tone.
The lights, when the lights spray on it,
the lights, you look better, you get more definition, all this stuff. You know, it's like, and it's just funny because like you find all this stuff where they say like, you know, like all of them is like facial recognition software is racist. Like, well, how about this thing? How about having a six pack? You don't look as good when you're pasty white, which is why professional competitive bodybuilders have to spray themselves dark to even have a chance.
And I didn't even know it before, and we like Googled it one time. It's like, all I gotta do is Google. I know there's already somebody saying that that's some sort of blackface or something. And we just Googled it, and there it was. There was some sort of a thing.
Yeah, there's no pasty white bodybuilder pictures. It gotta be.
I found it. Hold on, let me get it on the screen here. Oh my gosh. I'll show you another spray tan too, and it's the same spray tan just a few days later when I actually went on the stage. But you wouldn't be able to tell from the first picture. So right after the initial spray tan, and you want to know, I went to like a Smith, and some like old man like just gave me this. Oh, come on! You know? And I was like, I know, dude, this sucks.
You got microaggressed.
Yeah, this is the actual thing where I asked Carden, is this blackface, and I don't think Carden realized I was asking. I didn't think it was me.
He didn't get the judges. Yeah.
Yeah, hold on a second here. Bum bum bum. It's
you can't
terrible.
see anything.
I know it's not up yet. I just saw it in big size now, and it's like, oh my gosh. 3, 2, 1.
400K HD.
Jesus Christ. I was thinking that was just like, I was picturing.
I should be singing Under the Sea, Under the Sea, darling, it's better down with its weather.
Grace, I don't know the way.
So this is a couple days later when the spray tan fades.
That's a little better, but still creepy.
That's not a spray tan. Don't call it that. You just did legitimate blackface, you fucking racist.
Under the Sea. Yeah, that's a Quaker big time, like right there.
That's Photoshop Justin Trudeau's blackface into that. Like you're both at one party.
Okay. Mason's there. Whoa, crying. Yeah,
All right. That's good. That'd be so good.
Trudeau.
Such a stupid, obscure thing. That'd be hilarious. Patrick Mason completely shocked at Justin Trudeau and Chris.
Oh, jeez. Were his black faces in? Oh, there it is.
That just Carabarel.
Man,
Where
we
is
could
the
redo.
empathy?
What we're doing here is we're making headshots for the next Disney movie. Like we're saying, like, hey, Disney, like these are our headshots. Hire us. Me and Trudeau together. We can do the next.
We can play gay guys in blackface.
Okay, I got it. All right, hold on a second here. Oh gosh. Oh yeah, this is gonna work. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Hold on. Almost there. Justin Trudeau did that. Almost there. Give me 10 seconds, and we can wrap up. We started out with Keanu Reeves. We're enough with headshots to take the. Let's see here.
There's a new Kyle Dunnigan dropped tonight.
Yeah, I even looked at it. We pulled it up for a second.
I've been rewatching all the old Red Dwarfs, and I can't believe how.
Where
good
do you find that?
It's on BritBox. My mom has BritBox because she watches British mystery shows.
Yeah, that's all my parents watch too.
Well, in fact, I admitted it to my mom because I felt really stupid and embarrassed because I said, Mom, what's your login information for BritBox? And she told me her email, which is based on her first name. And I'm like, Mom, it's not working. And then a couple days later I saw her and I'm like, yeah, I tried, it didn't work. And then, I'm like, verify your email. And then I was like, oh, and I realized I was spelling my mom's name wrong. My mom's Louisa with a Z. And it's because it's normally S, and I was like, oh, well.
That's a sadder story than John Larsen's story. She could go on and give a complaint like, my son didn't even know how to spell my name.
I forgot how to spell my mom's name.
Here comes. Are you ready? Here it is. Grand finale.
You layman.
Oh, it's sensitive.
Oh, damn.
Oh, it's so meta.
Could we be canceled for this? Is this cancel the territory stuff?
I think it is. Well, except like, it's hard to tell because like it's kind of it's hard to point at. Like, wait, what? You gotta create like a perfect like that circle of opposition of like, wait, but if this, and this, and this, and this, but
which angle would they take to cancel us for this?
Like, yeah.
What's cancelable? We're making fun of Mormons, Trudeau, but my thing was actually like a legitimate thing that you don't
You
necessarily.
did put it in layman tights though. You got to think.
Oh, I did.
Tights. Also, it's layman nights, isn't it?
I don't even know.
Layman, not layman.
I typed it too fast.
Yeah, no, you're
Man, I'm not a good Mormon. I was never a good
layman tits.
Layman
tits. Layman tits. I do it better.
Lamentation. It sounds like you were trying to spell lamentations and ended up with lemon titties.
Yeah, I screwed that up pretty bad.
Lemon
I do.
Lamanites. I mean, that seems like I first read it as Lamanites just because how your brain reads.
Yeah. I didn't tell you noticed it, but let's see.
It's kind of like the famous Paris in the spring. It's like it's one of those common examples of used to show how easy it is to trick people. You, a sign that says Paris in the and then the spring, and you ask people to read it, and they'll say Paris in the spring, and most people don't notice that it says Paris in the spring.
Oh, with the double does.
What's this, Disney?
Black you and Black Justin Trudeau could be the first Disney gay couple.
The first trans African gay.
This is so stupid.
This is total playground shit here, and I'm loving it.
Oh, Jesus.
You don't get crap like this on Mormon Stories.
It looks like we're making fun of Patrick Mason. It was like, we're really not. You just got a really convenient face for this gag. Alrighty. I got it.
Yeah, we gotta call it good.
We'll see you
later.
All right, see ya.
Have a good one.